of them as well. What a move from the 48. Oh, look at this, and onto the straight they come.
Brilliant move there from the number 40 to make it through. That left-hander sliding up the inside, going up now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Need expert support for your sim racing setup? SimRig Support has you covered. With over 2,000 hours of experience, our team excels in diagnosing and resolving issues swiftly. Submit a ticket for remote help, send us your hardware with a prepaid label, or book an on-site visit. We handle all major brands, from wheel to PC problems. Trust SimRig Support to keep you racing.
British F4 esports competition is back racing, and of course beginning with the Formula Fords. Hello everyone and welcome along to live coverage of this evening's racing as we venture to Cheshire and to one of the greatest racetracks in the British Isles. It is of course the Oulton Park circuit, running the Oulton Park International layout, and of course Lewis McGlade, Cameron Roger ready to bring you all of the action here today. Hugo Luis obviously bringing you the cameras. I mean, look, it's a fantastic track, it's a great one for racing. It was the host of a fair amount of drama, shall we say, 12 months ago.
Absolutely. The less of that we say, the better. However, it is a crazy racetrack around here. So narrow, but so fast at the same time. And I can't wait to see the action that we're going to see around here. It's such a cool old school venue. And both cars, both the Formula Fords and the F4, should suit it quite well.
Yeah, indeed. It is actually quite raceable in these cars. There's plenty of overtaking opportunities. Let's talk you through the format for tonight. Of course, in a little while's time, we'll be going into British F4 esports action, but starting with the Formula Fords, and then, of course, into qualifying. They'll have 4 laps in a 10-minute session. It's a private session, so it's just them versus the circuit to see who's going to come out on top. 15 minutes then, we'll head into the first straight before we'll bring out the spinny wheel cam and see where the reverse grid's going to lie. That's always an exciting one, that second race, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is. And of course, how many positions get reversed is very critical for how the championship is going to look, with race 2 obviously being the exact same length. And of course, the championship leaders therefore need to come through a few different drivers. But it's been a great one so far. And I think those reverse grid races are going to be so crucial with the consistency factor for those going for the title.
Let's talk about the calendar. Of course, next time we'll be heading to the longest circuit on the calendar, of course, to Silverstone Grand Prix, but focused here on the Oulton Park International Circuit. We've done Snetterton, done Zandvoort, and we've done Brands Indy. This is closer to a Brands Indy style circuit in the sense of it's a little bit narrow and it can be a little bit trickier to pass. That said, it's still, there's a lot more overtaking opportunities than Brands Indy. That is the oddity in that. Once we're done with this, we're obviously halfway through the season, which we're racing at in a week's time, and then we'll have a couple of weeks off before we return north of the border for Knock Hill, then Donington Park, and then Brands Hatch to round out what has been a quite exciting season thus far. Let's talk to you about championship points. Now, a little bit to talk about in all of this. Mark Fletcher is the driver at the head of the points on 185 points. Actually received a penalty last round that cost him a few points as well in the second race. Sam Sanders in second position with Hans-Jakob Sivertsen Molat there in third. Lewis Werrell is the one to talk about in all that. Fourth position in the championship, Cam. 40 points off the championship lead, but most importantly was not present at Snetterton, meaning that will be the round that he'll take a drop score, which they have available throughout the season. They can take one drop score round throughout the entirety of the season. So Lewis Werrell has basically used that in non-attendance.
Absolutely. So his championship position will go up a little bit once the drop scores are taken into consideration in a few races' time. But what you then have to think as well, he can't make any more mistakes because that 0-0 from last time is going to be there no matter what. So every little issue now is going to really potentially cost him that championship. But he was looking so good in those first couple of rounds. I think he's going to be able to continue that on. But as we say, Huge slide there from Joyner as we work our way through the island bed and out onto this very fun circuit.
Yeah, honestly, absolutely adore the circuit. Both having driven it a fair few times in my sim racing career, it's definitely one of the ones that's listed up there as one of my favourites. It's a proper driver's circuit, but from having been here, quite a few times over the last 3 years, it is an excellent circuit as a spectator. Like you say, you really get a feel for the speed round here, especially coming down into like Cascades, even at Old Hall. The run up at the top of the hill at Druids as well. It's a fantastic circuit, obviously in what we'll see in the Formula 4s, but plenty fast enough in the Formula 4s as well. And one thing to note around here, Cam, is that there is a high level of risk, both with the tyre barriers that are there, but also with track limits, because I will say on all of the circuits in iRacing, this has probably one of the most egregious 1Xs for an off-track I've ever seen, which is at turn 2. It's just, you run 2 wheels off, woohoo, gone.
Absolutely, that is going to be a big factor, especially when we come to the qualifying session as well, for getting your laps counting on the board. But yes, it's a tough circuit out there, and you're right, Cascades is probably the one where the drivers are going to be getting those limits. So that is... it really opens up the door to those who are able to just nail the lap, put the car in the right point, and then get that lap in. So I think it's one of those circuits where the more technical driver who has the ability to keep control of the car a little bit more, maybe pushing them towards the pole position. However, with this car, as you know, Lewis, the rear slides around a lot. It's so difficult to just have the correct amount of slide to not go too wide.
Yeah, indeed. And like I say, there's a lot of places where you can run out too wide. I mean, like I say, the run through the exit of Cascades, that's an easy 1X, like very easy. Around here, at this point, Island Bend, less so. If you're dipping 2 wheels off in the grass there, I am sorry, but your car will no longer be a part of the race. Like, you're just getting straight into the barrier. Out of this, obviously, you've got a couple of chicanes, then you've got the likes of Knickerbrook, and then you go up the hill into what is more commonly, you know, the well-known parts of Oulton Park, where you're going through the likes of Druids and up towards Lodge. You can still get some off-tracks around there.
Yes, you certainly can. And those, actually one thing that we'll see potentially with the F4s more so than these Formula 4s to start with, is when you're right behind a car and you're going to see cars, you know, bumper to bumper, though we don't have them on this car, but they're going to be pushing each other around this. And when you have that car in front of you blocking your lines, your apexes, it is a lot easier to slide wide, especially in the dirty air when we get to the F4s as well. It's a tough one out there. And I think it's going to be very difficult for these guys to put in a clean show. And for the likes of Mollett, look at that as he has his webcam facing forward. That's such a good view as we come to start his first quali lap.
Yeah, liking seeing that angle from Hans Jakob Siversen. Mollett, of course, one of the drivers that is in contention for the title. We'll talk you through a lap. I've made Cam talk you through a few laps, so I'll at least take one this season, of course, here at the Oulton Park International Circuit. It's 4.3 kilometres all the way around, and the first braking zone as you dip in on the left-hand side going into Old Hall. Flick it through the right. You can use a fair amount of this curve on the exit of turn 1. No 1X being picked up there. You can see at the top of Mollett's screen as to see whether he'll get one. Drop down now through Dentons into Cascades. Hold it tight and left. Should be easy to keep within the confines of the race circuit in a car such as this. But if you go more than half a car width wide there at Cascades, it will be an off track. Running down Lakeside, of course, into Island Bend, and then onto the brakes into quite a heavy braking zone at Shallows. It's a really banked right-hand hairpin, which you kind of want to find the apex a little bit late. Wash up the circuit, but don't use too much of that curve on the left-hand side, because you'll effectively beach the car, and then you'll end up in the grass. Tricky little braking zone into Britain's, but you've got to be committed through here. Get close to the tyre barriers on either side. While that's not going too aggressive with that, you can definitely get closer, and I think as this session goes on, you'll certainly see that. Onto the brakes then as we go over Hilltop into his slots, the right-left chicane before we get to the right-hander at Knickerbrook, using a little bit of the grass even there on the left-hand side, dipping the front left wheel into it as we flick through the right-hander of Knickerbrook. Up then Clay Hill towards Water Tower as well. And then, honestly, my favourite corner in British motorsport, up towards Druids. A double apex right-hander that requires absolute commitment. And if you get it wrong, you're definitely into the grass. But beautifully done there by Hans Jakob Siversen Mollett. And then one final corner left to go as we get onto the brakes and head through Lodge Corner. A right-hander that's slightly off camber as you get towards the apex, and it drops down the hill as we rise up and over Dearly to cross the line to finish the first first lap of this qualifying session. Already seeing a few coming in. Martin Vilk saying a 43.351 as the first session, already beaten by Hans Jakob Mollett on the lap time we just saw. But trust me, these drivers, they're going to keep circulating here, Cam, because they want to keep that heat in the tyres.
Absolutely, and you can see, just as you were mentioning there's certain corners where he could have taken even more risk. However, like the two chicanes on the back straight, he was so close to the barriers on the inside of each of those apexes, really just nailing it. So solid opening lap there for Mollett, and he's leading by 0.2 of a second already, as we're going to see some more times coming over the course of this session. Of course, we need to see people like this. Shoma Shintani, he's probably one of the fastest drivers out there on the track, but he's had a few too many spins and issues, which is why he's not quite so high in the championship as he would have wanted. But let's see what he can do as he comes out of the final corner and up towards the line. It's quite a short run to the line. Actually, here, what is it going to be? It's just a 0.7, so he's 0.6 off already.
Yeah, a few drivers that really do need a good qualifying here. Like you say, Shoma Shintani, and that lap didn't even count from Shintani, so he's exceeded track limits there at some point around the circuit. Will ride aboard elsewhere. I mean, I will say another driver that does need a very good lap here would be that of Lewis Werrell after missing the previous round of the season. And desperately needing a solid qualifying. Not set a lap time in this session yet, has Werrell, so we are awaiting that one.
Absolutely, as we're seeing Sondra Mollett on screen. Of course, one of the drivers who has had a difficult opening couple of rounds of the season, shown some pace, but simply just got into too many incidents so far. Let's see what he can do in these 666 machines as he works his way through. It's really flowing track, actually. It's quite narrow, but you can still keep the flow going and up towards the water tower. Keep it to that left-hand side, and it's all about just placing the car as Sam Sanders goes up towards the top of the time. He's, of course, double podium last time out. He's coming strong in this second half of the championship.
Yeah, indeed. Like I said, seen some good results out of Sam, including a few podiums. Crofton Woodhatch, then another driver who definitely needs a good qualifying here. You spoke a little bit before we went live about Crofton Woodhatch. Had some great speed this season. Got the results to back it up. 43.0. We are expecting the pole time to come in the 42s. To be perfectly honest, I'm expecting somewhere in the normal very, very soon. Normal very, very soon. Hello everyone and welcome along. Apologies for the technical issues, but we are underway for the first Formula Ford race of the evening. And of course, it is talking you through the grid order just to get you up to date. Lewis McGlade, Cameron Roger talking you through 1 and a bit lap already complete. Shoma Shintani is the race leader with Harvey Jones, Lewis Werrell and Sondre Mollett all involved in this top 4 fight. Bit of a gap to the group behind, Cam, though. I will give you a bit of an update. Poor qualifying from our championship leader, Mark Fletcher. Finds himself down in 16th position, and he does have a bit of damage on his car. He's had a bit of contact from the start of the race with Corey Lane, so finds himself down the order with a little bit of damage, but still trying to work his way through. Cam, though, Shintani, you said he needed to do something special here. He's trying.
Oh, he certainly does, because he has the speed in this championship. He just needs to get the results on the board to have a proper run at it over the course of the rest of the season. And this is looking very nicely indeed. Leading is a 4-car train at the front as well, so there isn't a crazy amount of cars. And they're already dropping the 4th place driver, Sondre Mollett, a little bit. So this is working out pretty well. Of course, Harvey Jones, who was very fast back at Snetterton last week. So yeah, nice 3 up the front with Lewis Werrell in 3rd.
Yeah, and you can see there's plenty of side-by-side, I believe, between Croft and Woodhatch. Sorry, Sam Sanders and Hans-Jakob Siversen Mollett all having a fight. Croft and Woodhatch also involved directly behind this group for the top 4. So this is a battle for 5th position at the moment. You can see Mollett there with the inside line. Sanders is going around the outside, already trying to join the fight as well as Jonathan Smith on the outside of Croft and Woodhatch. Martin Vilk and Ollie Stone directly behind as they work their way down into Cascades for the 3rd time in this race. Sanders, the inside line, should be able to hang on here. Has got a decent position to do so as we take a look on board with one of our drivers.
Absolutely, that was a Woodhatch on the webcam, 2x2 as we come through the island bend. It's going to be the inside line for Mollett in the blue machine. This is going to be Sanders on the outside, Banks corner, so that should help him quite a lot actually to try and hold on. They've been side by side for half a lap now. We're basically 7 cars all going side by side. Woodhatch is just watching on as these guys are going to try and go side by side in towards Britons. That is very tight indeed. Sanders has to back out.
You see 3rd position there as well. Lewis Werrell's just gone straight on, going through the exit there of the Britain chicane. 3 wide, though, coming down to the Hislopes. This one's not going to end well. Martin Vilk's got to the outside. There's going to be contact, a little bit of a brush between them as they work their way through the corner. Somehow they're all going to try and work their way through. Sanders has been in the middle of it, and he's spun and is absolutely launched. It's going to be a terrible crash for quite a few of them. A lot of drivers involved. Franek Sikorsky trying to work his way through. And I'll tell you something, Cam, that was predictable from about 300,000 miles away.
Absolutely. I think it was Ollie Stone who got sent up into the air. That's the 51 of Martin Vilk who got involved as well. Warner also 3-4 cars there as he's trying, as Vilk trying to keep to the right-hand side as he gets back into pit lane. But that's changed the mid part of the top 10 as we're still seeing the racing come down. Always 3 wide once again as we come in towards Lodge Corner. And oh my word, these guys are really going at it in these first 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's allowed the 111 of Mark Fletcher to go up to 9th position. I'll tell you this, Mark Fletcher started this lap 16th, and so he's gone 7 positions on that one lap. A few of them have been picked off by his own hand. The rest of them have been picked off by the chaotic nature of the lap there. That was absolutely wild. And again, maybe a little bit too much so, as you'll see Fletcher trying to pull away from Ian Joyner and Mike Pollard behind, 2 drivers who's actually worked his way through on this lap. Do remember, Mark Fletcher is the championship leader at the moment. Could he be relinquishing that and maybe looking to require his drop score here at Oulton Park? But you never really know what's going to happen when you come to that reverse grid race. This is back up the order. There's been a bit of a mistake there from Sondre Mollett.
Yeah, he's dropped back behind Lewis Werrell, and because of their 2 issues over the previous lap, the lap or so, the top 2 have gone away. So it's Shintani and Jones leading now by a couple of seconds from Werrell and Mollett. So it's definitely the top 4, really just looking at the podium positions for now. But then, of course, we've got Hans Mollett in that 5th place, trying to chase him down. He's in the bag on Loudon, has also got past Woodhatch, who's getting his elbows out today, but unfortunately dropped down to 8th place.
Yeah, Croft and Woodhatch started this race in 7th, dropped back as we head back up to the battle for the victory. Harvey Jones, Shoma Shintani. Shoma Shintani did start this one from pole position, 3/10 clear at the moment of Harvey Jones when he started this lap. Obviously, it's half that gap, but we'll expect the gap to kind of remain the same as Lewis Werrell, Sondre Mollett. They switched positions on this lap. I think it was an intentional switch. Their teammates to a certain degree in this. Sondre Mollett went up wide to allow Lewis Werrell to come through, going down into the shallow oils corner. But a couple of, like you said, a couple of mistakes between those 2 basically completely removed them from the battle for the victory in this one, as it is between Shintani and Jones.
As we still have 3 drivers in the pit lane of Vilk, Warren and Sikorsky from that crash a couple of laps ago. As Ollie Stone's come in to join the list of drivers. He was the one flipped up into the air as well. So unfortunately, just a few cars getting damaged and not being able to continue at this point.
Yeah, indeed. Looking on board with Croft and Woodhatch. And I've got to say, Mark Fletcher's not too far behind in the battle. And on the previous laps at a 43.1, that was half a second faster than Croft and Woodhatch. Mark Fletcher could be dragging along Ian Joyner and Mike Pollard into this fight. So they might not be so alone in this. And to be fair, if Mark Fletcher can somehow rise his way up to somewhere near a top 5, that would be an incredible performance from him.
And it would guarantee the reverse grid positions as well, because remember, we have the spinny wheel at the end of this. Top P5 to 10 will be reversed at random. So yeah, if you can get yourself to P5, you're guaranteed to be inside that and not miss out by just one place. And those extra starting positions could be so crucial when we get into race number 2. And especially seeing how it was at the start of this race, the top lot getting away, maybe that is what we're going to see before he's come back to the front. And the 27 of Shintani still leads, but Jones not making any moves just yet. I think he's being patient like he did at Snetterton.
Yeah, and if you are wondering, by the way, where the British F4 Esports Championship is, again, it will be up after the Formula Ford. And if you're also wondering, do I really care about this Formula Ford stuff? I mean, for one, yes, because it's hilarious banter. But also for two, do remember who the championship leader is for the British F4 Esports Championship at the moment. It is one Mr. Henry Moore, who, of course, won this championship 12 months ago. So there's some pretty good form. If you win this championship, you'll be in a pretty solid position heading into the British F4 Esports Championship next year. So, you know, there's a bit of weight to it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just an incredibly fun championship as well with these drivers. It's a cool car. The fact it's got the no wings, but it's still plenty fast enough around a track like this. We're doing sort of 1 minute 42s at this moment in time as we still see Shintani lead. And Shintani's one of those drivers who so far has been probably the most aggressive in the whole field. He's been able to make up those positions in the reverse grid race. And of course, if he wins this race, he'll be the most reversed driver for the next race, which sounds very exciting to me.
Shintani's always been a little bit aggressive in this. Does have a decent I rating as well. I think it's about 7k. Shomi Shintani's a quality driver. We've seen him racing in quite a lot, especially from watching the higher level iRacing, esports type stuff. Obviously, in the F4s and stuff. Is a quality peddler behind the wheel. The problem is that aggression, which sometimes has come out a little bit too much. But like I say, there's never a boring race when Shomi Shintani's involved, and he definitely has the speed to win this one. But Harvey Jones will be desperate to say absolutely not, as he pilots his Alpha Esports car here, going down into Druids, flips it into the double right hander, gets it nice and close to the first curve. I'm very curious as to how some of these lines are going to change aggressively when we get the Formula 4s out a little bit later on, because things like down in Druids, you can really take that slightly wider entry. Cam, try and explain us through this.
Yeah, this is very difficult indeed. So that was Sanders, obviously trying to go through the middle, not working. He then, the black and red car, that was Ollie Stone getting pushed up into the air. Then we're going to see from Sikorsky, the black and orange car, I think it's Loudon in front of him, just not able to do anything. Huge secondary contact. Oh, his wheel's gone. That's why he's gone back into the pit lane, because that front right wheel is just not being connected at all. No reaction time at all. Yeah, I'd want to see it again from the middle of Sanders' point of view, because he's in the middle there, and realistically there's not a lot he could have done, because they already went 3 wide into the first apex, and there's just not enough room for that to continue.
That is one of those ones where I look, because I mean you can see it from up above. I would not want to be in race control looking at this, because who gets the blame?
Impossible.
Exactly.
Impossible, really, because when it was 3 wide, I don't know if I'd put the blame on anyone from what we've seen so far. And then the aftermath of that, I mean, just no one can react in time. When you have 3 cars spinning in front of you making a roadblock, then it's literally impossible.
And that's what some people will call one of them racing deals. It's just, like I say, absolute chaos in there in the mid-pack. Although I will say, whichever driver made it 3 wide going down into his lops, probably not looking so ideal now, because it's just not a good idea to try and push the limit going in there. I think it might have been Martin Vilk as well, who was on the outside, furthest outside going into his lops.
Yeah, maybe, I guess the issue is they were already 3 wide halfway down the straight, and at that point no one's lifted off on the straight line. so that's very tight indeed. There's all this contact there. Joyner on the inside, narrowly avoided by Pollard, and that was Fletcher, your championship leader, just putting a little bit of a squeeze on the 8 machine.
Yeah, but to be fair, it's whether there was actually a squeeze or whether it was absolutely fine. I mean, you can give a car it to the inside. There's also quite a lot of curve on the right-hand side, and in these cars that run quite low, if they clip that curve quite hard, it can pitch you out. It's quite an aggressive curve, very serrated on the inside of the final corner. I mean, let's take a look once more. So you've got Joyner making the move to the inside, not a dive bomb, so that's also to be noted in this. Sends it in. Nah, I think it's fine for Fletcher. I think it's just a bit weird on the contact.
Yeah, definitely an awkward piece of contact as we're seeing some side-by-side battles here. This is Lewis Werrell. Of course, he's up into 3rd place at 1.9. Smith getting involved there as well. That could be important for Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, Werrell's definitely been off at some point. Ignore the fact that Hans Jakob Siversen Mollat's car looks a bit broken. It's definitely not in this one, as Jonathan Smith is trying to look down at the inside here. Werrell has definitely been off this lap, so or to some degree. I'll investigate and get back to you. But either way, he's dropped right off the back of the Sondre Mollat battle. I wonder if he went wide at Island Bend, the very fast left-hander.
If he did, that's a good save to still be in this position. There's almost a send down the inside there from Jonathan Smith, who is looking very feisty indeed to try and get that position. Huge defensive line there from the blue machine of Mollat coming in towards the final corner at Lodge, and Werrell is on the back foot now as we come into the final minutes. And actually, this will be the final lap of the race. Coming up, one more go around this circuit, and this is going to be a big defensive drive from Mollat if he wants to keep this 4th place.
I'm going to correct myself. Actually, I've just looked back through Lewis Werrell's lap times. In fact, it is just lap time that's caused him. He's not actually been off the road. I thought he was much closer to Sondre Mollat, but Sondre Mollat's just been able to pull away. Just a few struggles on lap time from Lewis Werrell, and that's what's dropped him back into the clutches of Hans Jakob Siversen Mollat and Jonathan Smith, Brandon Loudon, and Crofton Woodhatch as well.
That is an interesting one, but I do remember from a previous race he said he hadn't done loads of practice, so I wonder if it's a similar situation to here. We know Mollat, I think it was at the previous race, that he did like 400 laps practice when we had Werrell in the interview booth. I'm pretty sure he said he did about 30, so definitely a big difference in the amount of time that they put in, but the speed on the track is very similar at this moment in time. They've dropped Jonathan Smith on this lap as well, as we have half a lap remaining.
Shows the talent level of a driver like Lewis Werrell, who's such a young up-and-comer in the world of sim racing. So very curious to see whether he's going to be able to work his way past and back inside the 4th position, or whether he'll just be smart and take the points. What do you do, Cam?
Take the points in this situation, I would say, especially with the opportunities being diminished as we get into the final lap. And is Harvey Jones going to have one of those sends into Lodge?
I think every single day of the week, take the points. You're outscoring Mark Fletcher. He's behind the extra couple of points for getting past Hans Jakob Siversen Mollat. It doesn't really matter that much. Take the points straight to the bank. Heading down then the final stretch. Can Harvey Jones work a way past on Shomi Shintani, or will it be another victory for Shintani this season? He works his way through the final corner, down and then up through Deer Leap. Shomi Shintani could be taking a victory here. It's going to be very tight across the line. Hundreds between the pair of them as he drags it straight out towards the barrier. Harvey Jones nearly was able to sneak it away through on the inside, but doesn't do so. Shomi Shintani wins then. Harvey Jones in 2nd spot. Sondre Mollat will take 3rd position as we head back down to Ian Joyner on the back of Benjamin Smith in the battle for 11th position. Hans Jakob Siversen Mollat and Lewis Werrell inside the top 5. The important note in that is championship leader Mark Fletcher down in just 9th position.
Yeah, tough day in the office for the 111, but that all came from a tough qualifying and then going even further back during that first lap. The 27 though, Shintani, which is absolute perfection up towards the front, and that is what he needed to get those 45 points for the race win. So really, really important for him. And I guess with how the drop rounds are going to look over the course of the season, Fletcher might be adding that one to his card.
Yeah, indeed. And for Shintani, who was... he's had some average results at points. He's had some excellent results at points. I mean, you said this was kind of a must-win race for him, and I mean, well-timed.
Absolutely, and no better time after a difficult round here and there to, of course, come out with a victory, to just bounce back straight away, get the momentum going. And here's the spinny wheel for the reverse grid.
Yes, indeed. Again, the numbers between 5 and 10 for the drivers that will be decided as to who's going to be starting on the reverse grid. It could be 10 here, Cam. It's going to be 10. Maximum reverse grid. Sorry, Shomi Shintani. So that'll put Mark Fletcher onto the front row of the grid. We'll take a look at the provisional results from the race. Of course, And it will be this 10 that get reversed. So Pollard will start the next race from the reverse grid pole alongside Fletcher. We'll talk you through, though, the results. Just 800ths of a second separating first and second as Shomi Shintani takes a victory ahead of Harvey Jones and Sondre Mollett. Onto the podium. We get to have a little chat with Sondre Mollett. He's had a few struggles this season, must be said. Hans Jakob Simmons and Mollett then in 4th position to scoring some good points in the championship. Lewis Werrell then in 5th position. Jonathan Smith in 6th. Brandon Loudon in 7th. Crofton Woodhatch in 8th. And Mark Fletcher, your championship leader, will finish this race in 9th position after starting it, though, from 17th. Not too bad. Of course, then we've got Mikey Pollard, Ben Smith in 11th position with Ian Joyner. Corey Lane having a couple of struggles and a bit of contact with Fletcher on the very first lap, with Connor Scudau finishing on the lead lap. Sam Sanders, after a couple of issues, finishes a couple of laps down, which is a big shame for him. Ollie Stone finishing a few laps down. Then, of course, the retirements for Martin Vilk, Frank Sikorsky, Mark Warner and Ryan Elliott did not even start this race. I think we'll jump straight into the interview booth, and I think we'll drag straight up with our race winner, Shomi Shintani, back into the interview booth, back as a race winner as well. So superb performance, great race from you, solid qualifying as well to grab the pole. Excellent driving.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oulton Park is my one of favorite track, so I'm so happy to win today.
What do you like so much about Oulton Park?
Oulton is such a fast track. A lot of fast corners, but under 2 chicanes today. So yeah, I like chicanes. So yeah, that's right.
It was a great battle with you and Harvey Jones throughout the race, but you seemed to defend him off quite well. Was it quite easy to defend around here, would you say?
It's not actually. I was getting nervous, but yeah. But still, I enjoyed it.
I have some very bad news for you, unfortunately. The reverse grid number has been pulled, and the number is 10. It is the largest number possible. How do you feel about that? What do you feel your chances are for race 2 to come through and get a decent result?
It's not easy challenge for me, but I think I have a good pace today, so let's see.
Shoma, thank you so much. Great victory. Big congratulations from us here in the booth.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go. Shomi Shintani then into victory lane once more. Let's drag in Harvey Jones, who, of course, was the driver who battled with him all the way through the race. Couldn't quite get through to take the victory. Missed out by under a 10th of a second. But Harvey, great podium, of course, and a great challenge for the victory. What do you make of that race?
Yeah, it was definitely a good point score. I think Mark not finishing in the top 5 definitely aided the decision to not bother for the win. I'd rather score points for the championship than risk going for the win and maybe crashing. So yeah, it was a good race. A long time to think about what I needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the group up there, of course, that are involved in the championship fight. Yeah, sure, Shomi Shintani is a couple of positions behind you in the championship and took that victory, fair enough. But like you said, Fletcher had problems in the race. Sanders had problems in the race. Ollie Stone also had problems in the race. Are you kind of trying to keep an eye on all those rivals? Because you are obviously in the championship hunt with quite a large group at the moment.
Yeah, I think what they're doing definitely dictates the race that I needed to drive. I think I had a long time to think about it when we pushed the gap away. I think I had a thought to myself, well, is it really worth it now? I mean, I'd rather score more points than them and see what race 2 has than risk throwing all my points away and just getting one win.
Knowing that Oulton Park is quite a chaotic circuit as well, and obviously we've seen that a little bit from the midfield in that race. In the next race, you'll be starting from right in the middle of the midfield. It'll be a 9th position start for you, courtesy of the 10-car reverse grid. What's the game plan going into it? Is it literally just to keep it clean, or are you thinking about gaining some more positions and going after some big points?
I think keeping the car on the island's definitely going to be the main priority. I think at Snetterton, race 1, I didn't have a great quali and I still ended up P5 just by keeping the car on the road. So I'm not going to worry so much about attacking other drivers. What happens, happens. I just need to focus on keeping the championship alive.
Good mentality. Harvey, congratulations on a well-deserved podium. We'll chat to you in a bit, maybe.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Harvey Jones, 6th in the championship coming into this round, but still having scored some decent points there, outscoring his main championship rivals. I was going to say we'll have a little catch up with Sondre Mollett, but he's no longer in my little interview booth to drag him in. So I'll have to fire back over to Cameron Roger. And of course, what an excellent race it was.
Absolutely, and those two just pulling away at the front. They had the speed, and it seemed like they both had the the awareness of the situation as well, especially with Jones there. He's really going for this championship and looking rather good indeed. The issue is for him, obviously he is fairly far back. I mean, he's 49 points off Fletcher, but there's already some decent amount of that taken out from that race today, and let's see what he can do in race 2 as well. It is a long season. Of course, we are in round 4, so halfway through the season at the end of this one.
Yeah, which is crazy to think that we've done 7 races so far, 7 of the 16 races on the hunt for the crown in the Formula Fords and of course the British F4 Esports Championship, which, do you remember, the British F4 Esports Championship will be coming up in a few moments time. It'll be after the second race. We'll be getting ourselves ready for that, which again, let's have a little thought as to that, a little bit of thought towards the future. I mean, that's going to be absolutely incredible. We are missing a couple of large drivers though. Matt Caruana, of course, is away because he's representing the United Kingdom in the FIA Motorsport Games. That's fantastic, isn't it, at the weekend?
Oh yeah, what an opportunity that is. A couple of drivers, of course, going there from this championship, which is great to see that such high-level drivers, first of all, are coming into the championship. It's a shame that they miss out on this round, but can't avoid conflicts everywhere. And yeah, what an opportunity for those guys, of course. Racing a proper level championship in real cars is going to be a great one to see just how good they are out there.
Well, yeah, of course, they're taking part in the esports side. So Matt Caruana will be doing the F4s on the Valencia circuit, and Kieran Prendergast, who obviously takes part in the British F4 Esports Championship, taking part in his first real championship here, really on iRacing. He's done a few more, but he's more of an Assetto Corsa Competizione driver, and he will be racing for the UK in the in Assetto Corsa Competizione over there as well. So it's both the iRacing and the ACC competition as well for the FIA Motorsport Games. But that's for the weekend and for the days coming up. This is for the here and now. So let's keep our eyes focused on this. And Cam, I was just joining the server, and I did notice that the iRacing gods might be playing a little bit of a trump card here, because the cloud coverage has come in, and I've seen there might be a bit of a warning of scattered showers.
That can certainly change things. Not only the reverse grid race, but maybe a switch up of the conditions as well. And yeah, there is a bit of spray out there behind those wheels. It looks like. So
it was a lockup, was it? Oh no, it's spray. It's spray. You're right. I'm blind.
Yeah, it's definitely. It's not completely wet on the track, but it's definitely a little bit of sprinkles out there. And of course, we do have a few minutes of practice for them to get used to that. But still, it's a very quick change of events from what we had in qualifying and race 1, and all of a sudden we've got the reverse grid for the top 10, and now we got to try and go racing once more. And we already saw some carnage in the dry, let alone what we're going to see in the wet.
It's all right, Cam. It's still perfect golf weather. That's the important bit. That is the important bit.
Any weather is golf weather.
Well, I don't know, mate. I got kicked off a course because of the weather down your old neck of the woods. Anyway, obviously it's Honeybridge. That's fine. We're not going to talk about that. We'll keep focused on the job at hand. Definitely a little bit of rain in the air. It is classifying it as overcast, but it's certainly not dry out there. You can see the track temperature there dropping down to 18 degrees Celsius versus a 90 degrees ambient. I've had a little look in game, and the rain is supposed to increase at least at 2:15 local time. I'll update you as to what time it is when we go into the race. It should be 42% precipitation. Whatever that means.
I mean, this is a tough one as well, because of course you're not really going to expect any sort of pit stops or anything like that.
There's no point.
Yes, and then of course starting the race is quite a big decision, so could be an interesting one of how the points are laid out after this one, because I mean, we're already expecting things to change quite rapidly around here, but you make one wrong call regarding tyres, or just with your aggression levels for the grip that's out on the track, and then that could be quite a big factor for this car indeed. Actually, the 111 of Mark Fletcher already struggled, lost points to his certain rivals in race 1, needs to have a solid race here.
Yeah, just to clarify as to what Cam was talking about there, with no pit stops, not expecting pit stops, do remember that these Formula Fords, if you aren't aware, they really don't require pit stops in the wet weather conditions, so they're running on grooved tyres, so there's just no need for it in these scenarios. So we're not expecting them to come into the pit lane. They will be staying out there and running their way around and hoping for the best. Look, Rain added a bit of spice back into Snetterton. We are expecting the same here.
Oh, we certainly are. And I guess it depends how wet it gets out there. It doesn't look too crazy just yet, but you never know how it's going to go at the good old British circuits. And I think with the fast-flowing nature, that's going to be so hard to keep the car planted should it get to that point. Although we did see that in Snetterton actually as well. There's a few fast corners around there, drivers making some mistakes. But I think the fact that they have these, 5-10 minutes to adapt to the conditions, they'll be able to get the feeling of that already going into race 2. But it's always different when you get cars side by side. Right now, they're on their own. They can work out the proper racing line, things like that. But when we get into a side-by-side conditions, especially on lap 1, lap 2,
there in 6th position. Of course, the next page will see those that reversed from the top 4 in the previous one, with Hans Jakob Sivers and Molla starting from 7th position. Sondre Molla starting alongside Harvey Jones and Shomi Shintani fresh off the victory. Ben Smith and Ian Joyner there in 12th position. The few positions behind that will see Corey Lane starting from 13th position. Then Connor Skudau, and a few retirements from the previous one, the likes of Sam Sanders, of Ollie Stone, Martin Filk, Franek Sikorsky, and the final row on the grid seeing Mark Warner. 15 minutes then goes onto the board, and the race start is about to begin. Mikey Pollard then from pole position, and Mark Fletcher desperate to go and get some important points back onto the scoreboard here after a poor qualifying session. Better launch there from the champ leader as he drags himself alongside going into the first corner at Old Hall with the inside line, the tighter run going through the right-hander. Mark Fletcher's desperate to try and take over the race lead. It's still side by side, the advantage pace-wise going the way of Mikey Pollard as we head our way down through Dentons and into Cascade. Got the left-hand line, the inside line as they all scramble a little bit for grip. Still slightly wet, and it is expected to get wetter as the race goes on. Few switches behind the scenes, but look at this from Crofton Woodhatch, Cam.
Yeah, he's trying to do a bit of a bump draft and go around the outside into the island bend. That is a big back off from Pollard, and you're going to see Brandon Loudon potentially come through up the inside in towards Shell Oils, but the outside line should be fairly good. How is the grip looking on that higher line? Pollard is going to keep it side by side though as he come up towards Britons.
Yes, indeed. Again, the side-by-side will take them through. They've got the side-by-side with Brandon Loudon getting around the outside of Mike Pollard. So a good move there as Ian Joyner and Ben Smith going side-by-side. Slow run, though, going in from Joyner as they depart the likes of the Britain chicane. Still a little bit of a look to the inside. More defending coming in from Pollard. He tries to keep Lewis Werrell at bay as they work their way through the Britain chicane. But Mark Fletcher, importantly, the champion leader, is the race leader here, Cam.
Yeah, this is a big one for him. If he can try and at least keep on the podium, but if not, go for this race victory. They're already pulling away a little bit from the blue car of Brandon Loudon in that 3rd place so far. And in 5th place, Lewis Werrell is looking very hot on the back of Pollard as he come down in towards Lodge Corner. Can definitely have a bit of a ascend in towards the braking zone here. We've also got Woodhatch looking up above. It is going to be a send up the inside for Lewis Werrell. That should be move done actually by the apex as he comes out onto the racing line up to 4.
Whoa! Big crash there. Sondre Molla has been sent out into the barrier, Cam. There's just a bit of it's going to be a big drama there coming through the final corner as we head down to the first turn. Lewis Werrell with the inside line on Mike Pollard. That was a big moment.
And for Sondre Molla, who we were just saying before the first race, in fact, that needs to try and get some results on the board. P3 last time was certainly one of those, but not this time around. He's gone back to pit road, and to be honest, he's probably not going to come out again. As we're going to see Pollard get a run, a massive run on Werrell around the outside, similar to what we saw in the previous lap, just the opposite way around, and Werrell sliding a little bit wide, but is holding on to that 4th position. We are losing the front 3 though, who are starting to blow in the background. Shintani gets past Jones up into Shell Oils.
Yeah, of course, the battle for the victory in the previous one between Shomi Shintani and Harvey Jones. They've already picked up a couple who have had issues at the start of this race. Running their way through then the chicane, it is Fletcher leading from Crofton Woodhatch from Brandon Loudon. 1.5 laps complete in this race. Still 12 minutes left to go as we get our way onto the brakes heading into his lots. And Crofton Woodhatch, I mean, he'll be hungry for a victory after what has been a very up and down, more down unfortunately, season as Hans Jakob Sivers and Molla has had problems, so problems for both the Mollats.
And there's another driver as well, quick enough to win a race, but he's got tangled up with something. He's dropped all the way down. He's basically going to be almost last. Only Ollie Stone doesn't get past him. This has not been a good day for Stone. He is driving, but he's effectively last in this race. Oh no, he's got past Molla as he tries to get back up to speed. And we continue on with the top 3. This is going to be a bit of a run there for Woodhatch, as that's too wide for Fletcher through Lodge. Even Loudon's going to get through. 2 places lost there for Fletcher.
Yeah, not good, unfortunately, for Mark Fletcher, but it's not a huge drama. Still sits there in 3rd position. He's being caught, though, by Lewis Werrell. So Werrell's rejoining this fight after a solid performance in the previous race. Maybe a couple of issues for speed, though, and I do wonder if maybe Werrell was a little bit out of position when it comes to tyres. Maybe it overheated him or something to a certain degree. Looking at the weather, it is supposed to rain very, very lightly, but that is all. We're not expecting any heavy rain throughout this, so the track is dry. It is dry at the moment, so there's no major worries on that side. Just to keep you updated with the weather, we were concerned there with where things were in practice.
Yeah, looks like it's going to be effectively a dry race of how it's going to work out. So that is good for the drivers who can push as fast as they can. So we've split up into 2 sets of 4 at the front. And Lewis Werrell is trying to get on the podium. He's now making Mark Fletcher do a defensive line down towards his slope. So 2x2 in the background. Shintani's trying to make some moves. And also Jonathan Smith going side by side with Pollard. Pollard's got to have that outside line, which will turn to the inside at Nickerbrook. But Shintani's looking feisty behind him.
Yeah, same with Harvey Jones, but Jones was saying in the interview that he's maybe playing the long game a little bit here, playing it cool, playing it calm, playing it collected. And right now, if there was something that I learned as a commentator last year, watching Henry Moore and Dannemore throughout the race, throughout all the racing seasons, especially reversible races, Henry Moore, and to be fair, Dan as well, they were both pretty strong at the idea of not rushing it, not pushing, let the race come to you. And that's what you might need to do here, is Shomi Shintani, not the driver, to do that at all, as he looks to the inside on Jonathan Smith there at the final corner. It might allow Harvey Jones to come through here down into Old Hall. Outside line for Jones, inside line for Shintani.
They're going to go side by side the exit. I thought they were going to push each other wide, but no, Shintani left the space, and actually that means Harvey Jones is going to get that move up the inside. We're side by side a bit further up as well as Woodhatch and Loudon go for the race lead. Mark Fletcher's trying to get involved and repay the bum draft that we saw just a couple of laps ago, and even Lewis Werrell to the outside. Who's going to lead as we come down in towards Shellos? The inside will be for Brandon Loudon, but Woodhatch will have the banked corner. He breaks a bit early, so Loudon takes the lead.
Yeah, indeed, bit of contact there as Crofton Woodhatch is sent up, and then Mark Fletcher's going to come straight through on the inside. So Crofton Woodhatch dropped back to 3rd position, side by side for the race leaders. Brandon Loudon's got the inside line. Mark Fletcher's going around the outside for the inside for the next part of the corner. In the white and blue car on the left-hand side, you've got shot the 111 then works its way through into the race lead. Brandon Loudon might be going from 1st to 4th. There is a 3 wide on the run over Hilltop, down into Hislop. Brandon Loudon backs out of it and settles to 4th position, side by side between Werrell and Crofton Woodhatch. As Woodhatch got the inside line as they head their way through Nickerbrook and now back up the hill. Still the side-by-side continues as Brandon Loudon's chucking himself back into it. Fantastic racing.
Yeah, phenomenal from the two. They continue side by side up towards Drew. It's almost 3 wide once again. We've got Woodhatch in the white car. Werrell around the outside of the pair of them. Can he make that a double move? He's completed it on Loudon, but now needs to try and do the same again on Woodhatch as we come down in towards Lodge Corner. They're completely side by side. Who wants to break later? Once again, it is Werrell, and that could be 2 places, but he's going to have to work hard for it as we come up the hill once more.
Huge risk there from Werrell to send it straight around the outside at the final corner. It still remains side by side as Woodhatch has got the inside line. Brandon Loudon might try and head through, and Werrell here is allowed Mark Fletcher to absolutely check out into the distance. 1 second clear now. There's a crash in the background. Mike Pollard's been sent off as they head through Old Hall. Pollard over onto the grass. I think somehow he might have escaped without hitting the barrier too hard there. We'll have to update you on that one. He's definitely dropped outside of the top 10. Werrell then into 2nd position with a second behind race leader Mark Fletcher. Halfway through the race, 7 minutes and 30 seconds left to go.
Yeah, big things happening on the previous lap. So Shintani went around at Britain's on the previous lap. He was very wide, had a spin out, and now he's down into 15th place. So that's a big one because he was obviously coming through in that second group. And then half a lap later, Smith was the one who made contact with Pollard on the exit of turn 1 at Old Hall. And then that is obviously what allowed Pollard to go off the track. So these guys going to the limit. There's more contact, and that was how Sondra Mollat obviously went out the race.
Yeah, just on the inside line. Let's find out how Hans Jakobsen Mollat went off. I think there must have been damage before that. You don't tend to see cars unless it was an unbelievable lockup. Here's Shomi Shintani having a bit of a moment. Didn't even see that Shintani had dropped down the order. Oh, and receives a big hit for good measure, heading his way through. And that has caused the issue for Ben Smith and all that. So that's where Ben Smith was retired from the race. Definitely a bit of contact for Mark Warner as well coming through. Very, very awkward. This is Mike Pollard. Slow through T1. Got an absolute hit from Jonathan Smith, allowing Harvey Jones to come through in the white and blue Alpha Esports car. So that is a lot of replays in a very short period of time about a lot of incidents over the first couple of laps of this race.
Yeah, very crazy race here. We have 6 minutes to go. We've got Fletcher leading by a second now. Woodhatch regains 2nd place as he gets past Werrell in towards Old Hall. But of course, Loudon is still sitting on the back of them. So this is what Fletcher would have wanted. The guys behind to obviously give him some breathing space and potentially take victory. Sanders comes down pit lane as well. Driver had such a good race. Back at Stetson, double podium, and unfortunately, it's going to be basically double DNF.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying that he was expecting a bad result at some point in the season, and Sanders is unfortunately having it here. Inside line then from Werrell heading into Island Bend. Big brave move to work it through here at Island, and Werrell will work his way through then up into second position at one of the fastest corners in British motorsport. Now back on board with Brandon Loudon staring at the rear end of this, thinking about the podium, has aspirations of finishing in second spot. To be fair, the chance of a victory isn't too far down the road, and I would normally say on around here, Camp. Fletcher would be absolutely gone. There'd be no talk of anyone fighting him. Pace has been a bit more of a problem this round. We saw that in qualifying.
Yes, that is very true. He has extended the gap, though, over the course of the last half a lap, just because of the battling, though. So if these three calm down and they give themselves some time, hopefully they'll be able to continue on, as we, of course, lose.
Yes, indeed, then. So Croft and Woodhatch with the look to the inside as we head our way through it. And like you say, it's great fighting between this grouping. Werrell, Croft and Woodhatch, Brandon Loudon, Ollie Stone and Mike Pollard will switch for 9th and 10th position. As there's going to be a bit of contact, maybe just a bit of leaning. That was again, fantastic space being given here by Croft and Woodhatch, who might actually have more speed here, Cam. Might take it to the outside of Lewis Werrell. Brandon Loudon does not want to make it 3 wide.
Definitely not in towards turn 1 here, as Woodhatch goes a bit wide. He keeps his momentum down towards Cascades, completes the move with that, and the number 2 machine goes back up into second place. And Werrell's really having to fight for this if he wants to continue on his great championship run and get some extra points. Fletcher is definitely gone, I would say, as another half a second goes in the previous lap. He's looking very good indeed. What can Lewis Werrell do to continue his run towards that second place? Up in towards Shallows, though, he sits behind.
Harvey Jones has had a problem, though, on this lap, has actually run wide. I did think that Jonathan Smith looked suspiciously alone in 5th position, and that is because Harvey Jones went off going down in the Cascades, went through the right-hander as they went through Denton, the right-hand kink before you get into the braking zone of Cascades, and clipped the grass a little bit on the right-hand side in the braking zone of Cascades. A little bit too tight running through there, and it's cost him quite a few positions, so he now runs down in 8th position behind Ian Joyner. So big shame for one of the drivers who did so well in the previous race. He'll probably be putting his head in his hands, especially considering where his champion drivers are, the likes of Lewis Werrell, the likes of Mark Fletcher. They're all up there in contention for podium for the race victory and such.
Yeah, realistically, I think the top 5 was his absolute maximum, so a couple of positions lost. He shouldn't be too upset with the P8, but definitely a couple of issues here and there not helping his position. As we see Loudon there have a bit of a look down the inside, and he's actually lost him about a car length as we get on the exit, coming up towards Old Hall Corner once again. Woodhatch is being pushed along by Werrell. Is he going to flick to the inside? No, he doesn't. They're going to continue on in line, maybe waiting for the final lap, or maybe just trying to make it a single 2-car battle. But Woodhatch once again going wide. He's pushing very hard.
Yeah, indeed. Again, it's a brilliant trio of battlers with a couple of laps left to go here at the Oulton Park International Circuit. Again, after this, we'll be going straight into the British Formula 4 Esports Championship after we've interviewed the top 3 in this race. Who will be interviewing? Definitely Mark Fletcher at this point. But who's going to be joining us in the interview booth? Will it be Croft and Woodhatch? Will it be Lewis Werrell? Will it be Brandon Loudon, who's a little bit deep there heading into Shell Oils, finding it back to the apex on the exit of the corner, which is not too bad. He can carry some decent speed through there. Bit of a battle behind all this is Corey Lane having, by the way, a great drive from Corey Lane, who's joined this fight for the top 5 on the back end of Jonathan Smith. Fantastic drive.
Yeah, top 5 is just about 5 meters ahead of him if he can try and find his way past this number 56 machine. Jonathan Smith, he looks to the inside, down in towards his locks, backs out of that, just tries to make Smith a little bit more tense as we work our way up towards the final lap of the race. It's counting down very quickly indeed, and he's just got about 5 kilometers to go to try and make his way past.
Yeah, indeed. There's still plenty of time. There's plenty of time, Cam. And that's the thing, is around here you've got plenty of corners. You can make moves into most of the corners around here. That said, I said there's plenty of time left to go in this race. There is just going to be a single lap after this. We head down into the final corner at Lodge. The inside is being taken by Lewis Werrell, who sent it in. Croft and Woodhatch to the outside line through what is realistically the final corner, holding that tight line as we head up the hill. Surely Brandon Loudon's going to make it 3 wide now.
He certainly needs to try if he wants to make the move. He's on the grass, trying to make it 3 wide indeed. Half a car width there on the grass. He has to back out to that one. Oh, it's so close to contact. He goes wide. He might have it though. Down in towards Cascades, exactly what Woodhatch did to Werrell a couple of laps ago, and he's made it stick. Werrell down in towards 4th place.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, superb driving. I mean, for Brandon Loud to try and make that 3 wide there by dipping 2 rows of the grass. The thing is, he was boxed in. He wanted to go down the outside. So now he's going straight down the inside as they head their way through the fast left-hander island. When you're taking such big risks like that, it's going to end in tears, and it certainly is going to end in tears. He overdrives it into the rear end of Crofton Woodhatch, and he's now in the middle of the road as the rest of the field is trying to get through. He's trying to get it into gear and get it moving, and it's caused a crash behind as Jonathan Smith, Brandon Loud, and Coriolanne spin around. That's such a shame. I was about to say Coriolanne. I remember driving back in the 2022 British F4 Esports Championship for a couple of rounds. Joining us here in the Formula 4, has had a pretty dramatic round, it must be said. The inside line's being taken though by Werrell. What a dramatic final lap here, Cam.
Yeah, he gets up into second place, way too much to go for there as we are on the final lap. Fletcher leads by 2 seconds. Werrell's finally made it through on Woodhatch. I don't know if there was a direct relation between Elaine's incident, of course, Loudon being there, but he was right in the middle of the road. Loudon being so aggressive, but it's cost him. That was an easy top 4 in the end. He's going to be way down in P8.
Yes, indeed. Wow, what a dramatic round it has been for the driver who qualified in 17th position, worked his way up into 9th, got pretty lucky with the reverse grid being all of the top 10, started from the front row and has checked out into the distance. It will be a victory for our championship leader. The triple one's back on top as it's going to be side by side for the final spots on the podium. Lewis Werrell and Crofton Woodhatch separated by thousandths of a second, and it will go the way by 9 thousandths to Lewis Werrell over Crofton Woodhatch. Ian Joyner will come through in 4th position. And then look at this gaggle across the line. Jonathan Smith, Ollie Jones, Harvey Jones, Ollie Stone, Harvey Jones, and Brandon Loudon all separated by less than a second. Mike Pollard just outside that 1 second bracket in the battle for the top 5. Absolutely crazy. And give a shout out to Martin Bilk as well. Absolutely insane scenes here as well. Slow things down, have a bit of a breath, and look at the provisional results, of course. Mark Fletcher taking the victory in that one by 2 seconds over Lewis Werrell, who was 9 thousandths ahead of Crofton Woodhatch. Incredibly close, great battling between those two across the line. I'm sure we'll have a good chat with the pair of them as we head through. Ian Joyner in 4th position with Jonathan Smith, Ollie Stone, Harvey Jones, Brandon Loudon, Mike Pollard and Martin Vilk, the top 10 positions, of course. We've got 3 more finishers on the lead lap, being Connor Skidell, Coriolanne and Frank Sikorsky. Shout out to Coriolanne. Had a great drive in that race, but unfortunately doesn't have the result to back that one up. Shomi Shintani having a bit of a drama, going a lap down. Sam Sanders, not the round he was expecting from the Oulton Park International Circuit, with Ben Smith, Mark Warner, and then both the Mullers, Hans Jakob Muller and Sondre Muller, both retiring from the race in what has been a pretty dramatic one here. We'll jump straight into the interviews because I know you want to go straight over to the British F4 Esports Championship, and we'll catch up with Mark Fletcher back into the commentary booth. Race winner. Almost was thinking that might not happen after your qualifying session. Let's roll it all the way back to that. What happened in quali?
Well, Lewis, do we have to?
Yeah.
We're getting on really well. I just drove off the track. Coming out the last corner, I was looking at the relative, and yeah, before I knew it, I got a 1x on the grass, and I thought, oh, well, that's going to make it pretty difficult. But yeah, luckily it was not a bad first race.
I was going to say, that's the rubbish done. Let's talk about the positives now, because first race you went from 17th up to 9th, which was a great drive. You made a few good moves in that. Saw a couple of incidents up ahead and still made progress. And then in this race, you still get your way through, and obviously from second spot, have a victory, maybe fortuitous to reverse grid. But the fact that this is a bad round for you and you're still getting a 9th and a 1st, it's not that bad realistically, is it?
No, it's just a shame. I always do it in qualifying, but obviously, as everybody knows, if you mess quali up, you're instantly going to give yourself a difficult race one. And like you said, yeah, pick my way through. Important to get myself into that top 10 for that reverse grid. And yeah, luckily, I couldn't have asked for a better result, I'll be honest. And then, yeah, as always in race 2, it was proper close all the way through. It was great battling Crofton and Lewis and Brandon. But yeah, as soon as those two started battling, or 3, I was like, right, this is my choice now. I've got to go. I can't be sticking around here too long.
Well, quickly then, give us a summary of your first half of the season. Obviously, we're done with the first half now. Positives, negatives. Are you happy with how this season's unfolded thus far?
Yeah, I am actually. I think it's a fantastic series. I think the racing is brilliant. A couple of questionable moves from everybody, but we've all been there. But yeah, I think the series is fantastic. I think it's run really well, and yeah, I'm fairly pleased to be up near the front at the end of the start, well, going into the back end of the season.
Well, congratulations, Mark. A very well-deserved victory. Dominated that one. 2 seconds clear of a very tight battle.
Wonderful. Cheers, Lewis.
There we go, Mark Fletcher there, on top once again in the Formula Ford tier. And I alluded to the very, very tight battle behind. Let's talk to the driver who came out on top. Just double checking that it was definitely Lewis Werrell. It was Lewis Werrell who came out there in second position, 9 thousandths of a second on the timesheets ahead of Crofton Woodhatch. Fantastic battle. I mean, welcome back to the Formula Fords, Lewis. What an epic drive.
Yeah, after missing Snetterton, I knew it was going to be hard, but here at Oulton, I didn't really do that practice in the dry. I was mostly practicing for the wet, but it didn't rain, so yeah, it was good. Like qualified third, like first good quali I've had really this season, and first race went for a move on Harvey Jones for second, and I don't really know what happened. I felt like he moved over on the braking a bit, but I got front end damage and was losing a lot of time, so I had to set P5. But then I knew I was in front of everybody that I was behind in race 1, so I knew it was going to be a bit easier. And at the start, got up to 4th and was closing in on the top 3, and then I went round the outside of 2 of them at the second chicane, but when I banged wheels with Crofton on the exit, that's when Mark got his gap and we didn't really stop battling from there.
What do you think you need to do in the second half of the season to go and take victory? Because, of course, you don't have a drop round anymore. That was used for the Snetterton round. How are you going to play the second half of the season?
I think I've got one more drop round. So I think I'm going to be trying to play it smart. Like this round, the 5th and the 2nd, I think overall probably caught Mark on the points, to be honest, because the 2 rivals, which was Sanders and Stone, I overtook them in the championship, I think. But the hunt's on to try and catch up to Mark. But yeah, I'm looking for the rest of the season to be better.
The hunt is definitely on, Lewis. Congratulations. A well-deserved podium. We'll talk to you in a bit. Perfect. Then the final position then to jump us into the podium. It's Crofton Woodhatch. Wow, it's been a while since we've had a chat. What an up and down season you've had. Finally getting back on the ups, onto the podium. I mean, yes, I know, disappointed to not finish 1 position ahead, losing out on that by 9 thousandths of a second, but still a positive performance this round.
Yeah, that race went a little bit better, to be honest. Both of the races were a bit better today. Just got a bit of damage in that first race, so I was down in a straight line, so I couldn't really go forward anymore. But it was a lot better than Snetterton, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the difficulties that you've had this season, because obviously there have been some ups, but there have been quite a lot of downs as well, and some big struggles. What is your game plan for the second half of the season to kind of put those behind you and focus on the good pace that you clearly have? Yeah,
it's just try and get a good qualifying position every time, and then just keep out of trouble pretty much and try and get maximum points. I think it's a long reach for me now to get back in the championship fight, but if people keep having days like they've had today, then I guess there's a chance I can still catch up.
We'll keep our fingers crossed, because you've got some good speed in your Crofton, and hopefully we'll be seeing you a little bit more at the next round, obviously at Silverstone.
Thanks, guys.
There we go. Crofton Woodhatch then into 3rd position and onto the podium. Congratulations to him. And again, congratulations to all of our top 3 from the first 2 rounds. Of course, we have got British F4 Esports to jump straight into. Qualifying is coming up in just a moment. We're going to step aside and have a bit of a breather. And boy, do we need it after those Formula Fords. Let's get ready for British Formula 4.
Need expert support for your sim racing setup? SimRig Support has you covered. With over 2,000 hours of experience, our team excels in diagnosing and resolving issues swiftly. Submit a ticket for remote help, send us your hardware with a prepaid label, or book an on-site visit. We handle all major brands from wheel to PC problems. Trust Sim Rig Support to keep you racing.
Olivia Hayward, driver for United Motorsports in the British F4 Esports Championship. Started in the summer of 2020, got myself a cheap sort of racing wheel to mess around with the F1 games, and then over the course of the next couple of years, slowly got dragged over onto iRacing, trying out various different things, sort of fell in love with the IR18. So it's a bit of a strange step back to go into a sort of a lower power machine, but it's going to be really interesting to sort of test my my racecraft in sort of those really tight battles you get in this sort of car. I think it's not too bad, honestly. I think the main thing is going to be, do you really want to try and push every sort of curve that you can? Whereas necessarily in that car, you've got to be a little bit more gentle to try and keep the sort of floor and the stability there, and also hold the tyres. So it's going to be much more flat out, but I think I'm pretty well prepared for it. This first season actually in the car, I was a reserve last season and taking that step forward. So a lot of it's about sort of learning and getting that experience of being around drivers that are sort of very quick and race very tight. But I think we can sort of have pace to sort of challenge for those top 10s. Especially at Oulton, if I can really string some laps together. I think that'd be a perfect balance season. So I've actually recently been spending a lot of time focusing on the IndyCar. So it's sort of that content switch is still ongoing to the F4 car. But I spent a lot of time sort of last season working on making sure the setups were all good for the other two drivers, and so I know a lot of the circuits pretty well. I feel pretty confident to jump back in and sort of get my foot in quite quickly. That starts back in sort of early 2022. I saw on social media they were in a GT3 championship partnered with Mermaids, which is a charity that I'm sort of very passionate about. I wanted to be a part of it, so found the invite links, got into the server, and from then on, it's sort of the community led to the team, and ever since then, they're sort of been behind me every step of the way. And having that support, not just on track but off track, is really huge to sort of help you reach the level that you know you can get to.
And with all said and done, it is time for the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Hello everyone and welcome to Cheshire. It is of course the Oulton Park International Circuit. Lewis McGlade, Cameron Roger bringing you the broadcast here of course with the cameras from Hugo Luis. What a fantastic round this is about to be, Cam. Look at this. It is not looking pretty out on the circuit. The conditions have definitely hit. We are in qualifying and we are ready to go. This is going to be very, very exciting indeed.
Absolutely, the mid part of the championship. Can't wait to see how the drivers go over this very tricky circuit.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously, let's talk you through where we're at. So we're in qualifying at the moment. It's just begun. Lone qualifying, just them versus the circuit. We'll head into the first race, which is a 20-minute race before we'll get the reverse grid out. P5 to 15, not 5 through 10 is what we had in the Formula Fords. And then we'll get that second race underway. It has been an absolute thrill ride from start to finish so far. And of course, they are all fighting for a decent amount of prizes prizes, mostly stacked in the Teams Championship. That's where you want to be going. Well, that's where you get your hospitality tickets for the British F4 season next year. You get obviously the full day in the base performance simulator, as well as entries to the 2025 Club 100 experience as well. A little bit of test session on that as well. Drivers' Championship, they get invited to the Night of Champions, which is an incredible event. Saw pictures from Luke McEwen there last year. Absolutely fantastic, and they get themselves a free yards test and go racing pack as well. Lots of good prizes for the drivers and for the teams, as long as those you get in the top 3 in the Teams Championship. The calendar, of course, you've seen it before. We'll talk through it once more. We're about to head into the halfway point of the championship at the end of the Oulton Park International round. We're in the middle of this 3-race string that started at the Snetterton 300 circuit. We're here at Oulton Park International, and we're going to Silverstone Grand Prix in a week's time. Taking a couple of week break before we head to Knockhill and then Donington Park Grand Prix, and returning, of course, to West Kingsdown in Kent to Brands Hatch to round out the 8-round season. Let's talk you through the important stuff, the drivers and the Teams Championship, beginning with the drivers, and it's Henry Moore on top of the standings. No drop scores in any of this, so you're scoring points and hoping your best. And Henry Moore, the Formula 4 champion of last year, is heading the points ahead of Graham Carroll. Matt Caruana not in action today. We'll talk about that in a few moments' time, with Will Chadwick quite a few points behind. Big gap back to Chadwick and Remy Gilbert there. Isaac Price, Leo Brown, who's excluded from qualifying for breaching points limits as well. He'll be 7th position in the championship with Gogo Bowdy, Yodi Cathler and Pablo Espes, the top 10 of the Drivers' Championship. In the teams, it's the Skoda Ferrari HP Esports team that currently top the standings, of course, with Guild Esports there in second. And Guild Academy, that is just Henry Moore, who is 3rd position in the Teams Championship. That's how good he's been. The Mentor Racing, driven by us, 4th position in the championship with G2. Very tight battle there for 3rd position in the championship between those 3, and quite tight at the top of the standings as well. Those few towards the back end of the top 10. Freem UK, of course, Aston Martin, Williams Esports Academy. What a disaster season that Williams really has been having so far in the British F4 Esports Championship. The Aztec Racing by Gridfinder and BS Competition inside the top 10. With all of that dealt with, Cam, we are in qualifying. Again, they only get a handful of laps in this one. It is 4 laps that they get in this qualifying session. At the moment, is Graham Carroll on the top of the timesheets.
Certainly is. And of course, who's behind but Henry Moore, the 77 championship leader, warming up those tyres, and it is just by 0.03 of a second. So this is looking very good. Of course, some names you'll be very familiar with of Gilbert and Price up behind, who've been very fast last time out at Snetterton as well. So this is looking very good. Of course, Roddy Smith on his reserve drive up in 5th place as well. So that is looking good. And as well, of course, we see a few other drivers a bit further down, but of course, laps still coming in.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, Quitiago Matau is doing both races for the Williams Esports team. Matthias van Erven will be joining for the 2nd race for the Williams Academy squad. So expect that to have a little bit of a chop and a change. Like you say, Ronnie Smith jumping in here, as well as Will Murdoch, who's in replacing Jarl Tyen, who is also out of the FIA Motorsport Games. Again, Matt Caruana and Kieran Prendergast are also at the FIA Motorsport Games. So they are not participating in this round, which, to be fair play. I'd take a little trip to Valencia. Why not? Cameron, Roger, I talked us through it in the Formula 4. Talk us through Henry Moore's potential bowl lap here around the Oulton Park International Circuit.
Absolutely, a tight and twisty track, and it starts with Old Hall Corner, very fast indeed. 4th gear corner, he wasn't quite committed enough there, but hopefully should be keeping the speed. Then down the hill, a little bit of a right, King of Denton's in towards Cascades, a very fast, long, left-handed corner. But got to be careful with the track limits on the outside, keeps it all wheels inside the line, so it should be absolutely good. Down the Lakeside Straight, up towards Island Bend, should be easily flat out, just banging off the limiter actually in 5th gear. And as we get towards the braking zone now for Shell Oils, look for some overtakes down in towards this corner. Very banked corner, but they keep it on the low line as you work your way out up towards this straight that has a couple of chicanes in it. First, it is Britain's, a bit of a left-right, get as close as you can to the tyre walls, but of course, do not touch them. And it's almost like a karting track, actually. It's so confined and congested at this circuit. It's going to be crazy once we get all of these cars coming out at full racing speed. Once again, downhill in towards his stops again. Get yourself close to those barriers and over to the left-hand side to open up Knickerbrook all over over the curbs as you try and take everything you can up the hill. This is a completely blind section of corners, but of course, you stay flat out. It is a straight in these types of cars. Up towards Druids, double left-handed apex. Got to nail that first one to not drift too wide and keep that momentum, keep it on the curb, not to get an off-track there either. As you come down in towards what is effectively the final corner at Lodge, probably the next best overtaking opportunity on the track when we get in towards the race, but then you've got to keep it pinned. Don't go too wide as Mark Fletcher did in the Formula Fords, and up the hill, very short run to the line. And is this going to be a pole lap? It's a 0.3. It is going to put him up towards the front.
Superb lap from Henry Moore, absolutely fantastic. Good to be on board with him. Like you say, fully committed around this Oulton Park International Circuit, going ahead of Graham Carroll, who's recently just completed his lap. Will Chadwick goes then up into 8th position ahead of Gogo Bowdy. They're all dropping the likes of Roddy Smith and Moreno Sorica down. Moreno Sorica, though, is on a lap as well. Keep our eye on it. Will Murdoch, by the way, on debut in the championship, up to 6th position. So that's fantastic from him, as we'll see some smiles for Moreno Sorica.
Yeah, he's looking a bit better. Of course, he was up towards the front in this championship quite often last season. We spoke to him a few times in the commentary booth. Not the season, of course, that Williams have been having, but let's see if they can turn it around with 20 seconds to go in this qualifying session. Down in towards Lodge Corner, he looks very calm, and that is always good. Slide in that rear end as he tries to work his way up towards the line. Can he get anywhere close to that pole position? To 33.0, so unfortunately doesn't improve on his final lap.
No, indeed not. I believe that actually wasn't a time lap because I think it had already been exceeded before. Manuel Biancalilla trying to close down on his teammate who's up in 4th position. Joseph Loke will be up there, but the qualifying session comes to a close. The timer hits 0 and it is over. By the way, it's just fog. It's not wet out there on the circuit at all in what has been a quality lap from Henry Moore. Ignore that because that's not correct, but it is Henry Moore who will be grabbing pole position. We'll hit the old control delete. I hate saying that, but it is true in this sense. Is Henry Moore, championship leader, up there on to the pole position. Graham Carroll starting alongside the top 2 in the championship on the front row. Isaac Price and Joseph Loke there in 4th. Remy Gilbert and Will Murdoch on debut for BS competition up there in 6th position, showing very, very nicely indeed. Elias Riker in 7th, so BS competition looking pretty strong this round with Will Chadwick, who's maybe a little bit outside of championship contention, but is definitely battling for those positions for about the top 5. 8th position for him. Gogo Bowdy in 9th. Ronnie Smith on debut for the Mensa Racing part, driven by us. 10th position. Moreno Sorica in 11th. Giuseppe Lafaro in 12th position with Yoni Cattler in 13th. Manuel Biancalilla a fair way behind his teammate with Thiago Martel, the only Williams Esports Academy driver in this world. I do see Matthias Van Erven there, so maybe he's made the time check for this, as Peter Staticek will take 16th position. Simon Kulik there for the Alpine sim racing team. Matthias Van Erven is on the grid. We weren't expecting him until race 2, so superb effort. Ryan McAuliffe and Joel Hull inside the top 20 with Sergio Fitzpatrick and Olivia Hayward there in 22nd. Beckham Jasir and Leo Brown, the pair of those, courtesy of breaching licence points issues or penalty points, they will both be excluded from qualifying, so they didn't get to go out in qualifying, so they'll both be starting from the rear. They're on the grid and almost ready to go. Cam, who wins this race?
Graham Carroll.
Straight up Graham Carroll. Why? Elaborate.
I don't know, I just think he's fired up after the interview that we had with him back at Snetterton.
Maybe this is a must-win race for him. It is going to be race 7 of the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. It's going to be Henry Moore and Graham Carroll on the front row. Isaac Price in a great qualifying position with Joseph Loke and a fair amount to prove there in 4th position. They're just all about ready to go into the grid. The 20 minutes is put onto the clock. And the race is ready to begin. The championship leader starting from pole position alongside his main championship rival. The lights will go green, the lights will go out, and we will be racing our way down into the first corner. The green flag's waved, and we are running. It is Henry Moore leading down to the first corner as everyone translates quite nicely. Good start as well. You've got the two PS competition cars going side by side as Will Murdoch is able to fend off his teammate Elias Riker. It's nice and clean between the top lot between the first grouping. Will Chadwick is trying to make his way up the order as he tries to drag himself alongside, but he can't quite get past the BS competition driver of Elias Riker and has to settle still for 8th position. You've got Gogo Bowdy directly behind him. Meanwhile, the top 2 separated by very little as they head to Island Bend for the first time.
Yeah, it's looking very calm. Any big sends down in towards the braking zone for Shallows for the first time. Maybe a couple of looks, but nothing crazy too far. As we do see a spin, though, one of the Williams cars goes around. We're also seeing the 3M UK car, the 31 machine, having contact on the exit there of Shell Oil. So Sarah's remaining calm, but then it wasn't.
I've had a couple of chats with Joel Hull between rounds. He's got such a fantastic amount of speed. Unfortunately, just when you're involved in that mid-pack, it's where it's all a little bit chaotic. Someone makes a big mistake and you're the one that's caught up in it, and it does seem as though that might be the case yet again. Just got to keep your head out of the gutter and keep focused. And that's why these drivers that are at the top of the championship, they are always qualifying inside that sort of top 3, top 4, top 5. The moment that like a Henry Moore has a problem in qualifying, again, there's no drop round to the British F4 Esports Championship. You're against the thick of it. Back in Jasir, by the way, back in the grid to 13th. We're not even complete with 1 lap yet, Cam.
What I really want to see that. How has he gone through? Because there wasn't any major crashes as such, as a couple of cars going off, but it wasn't like there was 6 cars being wiped out. So very good start for him indeed. He's definitely fired up to bring this second part of the, or mid part of the championship, I should say, towards Williams after a very difficult first opening couple of rounds. But it's looking very nice for the top 4, top 5 at this moment in time. Moore still leads from Carroll. And of course, they are slightly longer 20-minute race compared to the 15s in the Formula Ford. So we know Carroll likes to be patient and remain his time. Let's see how this worked out though. So there's Lafaro, had nowhere to go. Oh, there was further contact in the background, and there was the Williams cars flying right through on the left-hand side.
And that was Beckham Jasir near side of the camera that was absolutely pinned and throwing it through. Like I say, just not really much that could be done in the middle of all of that. It was very, very chaotic indeed, and just like I say, a little bit messy. I'm afraid that just sometimes happens, especially on the exit of the island bend. I mean, talk us through it once more. This is what happened to Hull. He was just in the middle of 3 wide.
I mean, that was ping pong. It was push to the left, push to the right, then gets spun around, goes off into the barrier, loses the rear wing. Absolutely nothing Hull could have done there. I think that was the 48 of Van Irving coming up the inside, making that bit of a 3 wide situation, and unfortunately just leaving the cars on the outside with nowhere to go.
Indeed. Well, back up to our top grouping then, and we've got really 7, to be fair, I'd say still quite a lot of cars involved in this train for the race lead. Maybe back down to Gergo Baldi, as it's Henry Moore leading from Graham Carroll. This is a look on board with Beckham Jasir. So you'll see the first bit of contact. That's where Hull went up the road. This is Lafaro and such instant, and go, do you know what? This is rubbish. Straight off into the grass. There's some rally cross there. That's how it's done.
There's me saying there weren't 6 cars going around in front of him, but actually in the end, with the 2 incidents, it actually turned out to be that. So, fair play for getting through it as well. That was a big save on the left-hand side of the track on the grass, and maybe able to get himself some decent points. And he is right in the back of this top battle. He's getting past Statuletch as well, as we're going to see Graham Carroll dive up the inside for the race lead.
Yeah, indeed. And like you say, Graham Carroll's trying to work for it. Obviously, he's got his driver's champion. They go side by side to Island Bend. The inside line will work potentially in favour at Shell Oils for Henry Moore. Outside line being gifted to Graham Carroll. He's still slightly alongside as we're going to get under the braking zone at the Britain chicane, but backs out of it smartly. Does not want to risk it. Obviously, still got to deal with the champion points, not only for this, but also for the team's championship. Ferrari are scoring decently here, do remember. 2nd and 9th at the moment. And their closest rival in the championship when it comes to the team side of things is the Guild Esports team, which does not include Henry Moore. That is Remy Gilbert in 5th position, and that is Leo Brown in 14th. So at the moment, the Ferrari team, they are outscoring Guild in the team's championship. The side-by-side directly behind us, by the way, is Joseph Loke trying to get past Isaac Price.
Absolutely, big battles, and up the inside towards Brent Druids. Don't always see that. He might have the run, actually. Yes, he will. Down towards Lodge. In fact, he's already made it before they even get towards the braking zone. Price is going to fight it, though, on that outside line. Might just have to squeeze in on the exit, because, of course, he's got Remy Gilbert, who's now going to get the run. And it seems it's very difficult when you have to choose to make your overtakes around here. People are getting the runs, as we've seen Will Murdoch there on that outside line in the 91 machine. Of course, in for Yaltine there, as he works his way up into 6th place and trying to battle up ahead.
Yeah, basically they've just had to add an extra couple of stripes to turn the Norwegian flag into a British flag on the side of the car as we ride on board with Will Murdoch, who we've seen time and time again in esports competition and iRacing put on some pretty solid performances, but this is very impressive to jump into an unfamiliar championship and still battle it out right towards the front. I mean, it's showing fantastically for Will Murdoch at the moment as he sits right on the rear end of Remy Gilbert, scoring some decent points potentially here for the BS competition team, as once again the battle for the race lead sees Henry Moore and Graham Carroll separated by very little as they head their way through the British chicane. Bit of a slide there as we almost lose them in the thickness of this fog. Up and over hilltop, down towards the Hislop chicane, and they're about to be joined by Joseph Loke, who did win on debut around here in GB3. So that was over a year ago, 2 years ago now, but still.
Definitely knows his way around here as Price and Murdoch go side by side up towards the race lead, though. Graham Carroll to the outside of Druids. Can he make that stick, or is he just trying to slow him down as he gets up towards Lodge Court? He's got to be careful because Loke is sitting in the background, and Carroll finds his way to squeeze side by side down towards Lodge Court. He's going to have to brake late, go on the outside line. Is Moore going to give him the space? Yes, they do as we come up through Dearly.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit wide though for Graham Carroll. Got launched on the curb, just a touch, gets back into slipstream. Joseph Loke could be working his way through here. Looks to the inside as they head their way back up to Old Hall, and Joseph Loke is going to work his way through. Superb performance there from Loke, who of course has shown some great pace in these cars, and you've seen that before, not just in the sim world but in the real world as well. He's up now into second position as Joseph Loke.
One thing we see multiple times, also in the Formula Fords earlier around here, if you go for a move and you go offline, someone seems to fill the gap and you end up losing a spurt. So not only did he not get first, but he's lost a position. So that's something quite interesting to note around here, that when you do go for the moves, you really have to make it. Otherwise, the car behind is coming through as well. And with all these battles, we are seeing the three cars of Gilbert, Price and Murdoch behind actually close up. So we were seeing a three-way breakaway, but they're getting closer in the background once more.
Do remember that Joseph Loke has actually won round the circuit in real life. So that was back in 21 though, so it was a fair while ago. He wasn't quite in his. I'll put it this way: his Ford Focus rating. Have you ever seen a photograph of Joseph Loke in his Ford Focus? I got shown a photograph once. I'm not gonna point anyone to it, but it is quite funny. As he'll try and close his way back up for the race lead. Quarter of a second off the rear end of Henry Moore at the moment, but we're not even halfway through this race, Cam. We've done less than 8 minutes. That's how chaotic this has been. It's breathless action always in the British F4 Esports Championship. I don't know who the favourite for this race is now. Like you say, it really is it's Henry Moore, Joseph Loke, Graham Carroll. Those are the three that I'm really looking at here. Remy Gilbert could win this race. He's not necessarily out of it, but maybe just a little bit too far behind. A bit more of the fight between Riker and Price sees 6th, 7th and 8th potentially, with Will Chadwick chucking his way into the mix.
Yeah, I think Chadders might have an opportunity here down the inside of Cascades in the 88 machine. Of course, the race winner back at Zandvoort should have that one done. So Price is going backwards here. He's now got Gergo Baldi coming to his left-hand side. As you know, just backs out of that one as we come up towards the island bend. But Price, of course, was in sort of 3rd, 4th place at one point, and now is back down here in 8th. Might be 9th as Jasir makes a further move on Price's teammate Katala, who is now up into 11th place for the Williams Esports driver.
Yeah, Beckham Jasir has been showing some excellent pace, but now he's got 2 seconds up to the rear end of Ronnie Smith. He doesn't find himself too far off the back end of this fight. Ronnie Smith, of course, on debut in the British F4 Esports Championship. Did go quite well last year, of course, in the Formula Fords, ending himself 3rd in the championship behind Henry Moore and, of course, Dana Moore. And Ronnie Smith was potentially making his debut last round, but couldn't quite make the round because he was away. But he is the reserve driver for the Mentor team, and like I say, great to see him taking part in the championship and showing the pace that he's got.
Absolutely, and it's a shame that he's just lost out from the slipstream of Sacha Baldi, because then he really could have been in that battle. But this could potentially be a reverse grid pole as well. Remember, it's 5 to 15 in this championship, so if he keeps himself there, he at least has half an opportunity to try and make something work, which would be very good, being on a reserve drive role, having some great performances out there. But either way, to be inside the top 10 of this championship just shows some speed as well.
Are you necessarily counting him out from closing up to this train?
It depends how much fighting there is, I guess, up ahead.
I wouldn't count them out from it. I know they've got a decent amount of air to work in, particularly where the likes of Riker is, a fair amount of air to work into, but Gergo Baldi, if he gets slowed down enough, there could be the slipstream picked up by Ronnie Smith. There's Isaac Price a little bit deep in the corner. Qualified really well, did Isaac Price, but unfortunately not showing the pace so much in the race, as there's a couple of struggles for him. Obviously qualified in 3rd position, now dropped back to Gergo Baldi. Back up though to the podium positions at the moment, where we'll see the top 4 separated by less than a second. Henry Moore, Joseph Loke, Graham Carroll and Remy Gilbert.
Yeah, so my pick for the race was Graham Carroll, but when he had that one opportunity on Henry Moore and went down to 3rd place, I'm starting to rethink that, because Moore is doing such a good job. We don't know how aggressive Loke is being thus far. Does he have anything left in the tank, or is Moore just doing what he did previously at Snetterton when he finally got that race victory and he was able to hold off Graham Carroll for basically the whole race?
Yeah, I mean, you just never really know. Of course, realistically, Graham Carroll's sat there thinking about points, and I get that. But there comes a point where you have to stop thinking points, and you need to start thinking wins. And Graham Carroll's dangerously close to that, courtesy of the consistency of Henry Moore so far in the 2024 British F4 Esports Championship. He is the champion leader. That said, we are not halfway through the championship. And I distinctly remember last season, Cam, I don't know if you remember, there was the fight between Luke McEwen, Gordy March and Pete Berryman, who was involved in the championship fight until we went to not kill. And then things changed drastically in the championship as Gordy March was dominating that round, threw himself back into championship contention properly, and Pete Berryman had a struggle, a disaster round, was thrown basically out of championship contention. And that could very well happen this season. You never know.
Absolutely, with the no drop rounds and some big points, 45 for a race win. If you just have a couple of, couple of bad rounds, something is really going to change in your championship. As that was a bit of a mistake there for Loke as he came through Britain's down towards Hislop's. Is there going to be an opportunity for Carroll on the outside line? No, he breaks a little earlier as he just slides back into third place. So maybe you're right, Lewis. Maybe he is just thinking the longer game, but he has to be careful because he's got, of course, another Gill drive of Gilbert right behind him.
Yeah, and I will say, if you're expecting some big fireworks in this championship, well, in 8 minutes' time, this race will be over, and then we'll be getting ready for the reverse grid race. If it's a big number, if it's above 10, trust me, we're going to see big fireworks in this championship. Another big slide coming in then from Joseph Loke, who could be running a little bit aggressive on the tyres here as the look to the inside comes in from Graham Carroll. The fight for second position is going to allow Henry Moore to check out into the distance here. The Guild Academy driver, the championship leader, could be looking at yet another victory as the side-by-side for second spot. Graham Carroll with the inside line as they head their way down into Oulton on the first turn. Joseph Loke just about giving enough room. Fantastic race between the pair of them. And Remy Gilbert was almost into the mix, but had to get onto the brake to not get into the rear end of Graham Carroll. He's still slightly alongside as they work their way down to the second real corner of the circuit at Cascades, and the Guild driver will head past the Ferrari.
And once again, Carroll goes for a move, and it might cost him a position previously to Loke. Now to Gilbert down the inside of Island Bend. Look out for Murdoch to come in the background as well. Up the inside of Shell Oils. That should just about be covered off by Gilbert. Very close between the two. That might have saved Carroll's day, actually, on the outside there. But Carroll's got to be careful because now Moore is gone. He's over a second in the lead, or about a second. And now that might be the win gone.
Yeah, I think it might be. The thing is, the pace of Henry Moore is perfectly fine to kind of hold the gap at around a second, unless he makes a catastrophic error to kind of drop that gap back down to under about 6-7 tenths of a second. I think he might be clear and running away with this race. At the moment, it's kind of hovering around that second, around the danger zone. If that grows to around the 1.2, 1.3 second margin, this race is as good as done, and Henry Moore will have a second victory in the British F4 Esports Championship. But at the moment, it's hovering around that danger zone, and trust me, Joseph Loke will be in full rag mode. He doesn't care about tyres, one iota. He will be throwing this car as hard as he possibly can around the Oulton Park International Circuit to try and close down the race leader and maybe seek a first victory in the British F4 Esports Championship.
Did you see that bit of a wiggle there from Gilbert? I reckon that was to say to Carroll, I'm not coming for you, let's catch down Loke, and then ultimately Henry Moore as well, because time is slowly starting to run out. We're inside the final 6 minutes of the first race of the evening, and Moore, with that 1 second lead, is in a very good position as Loke goes ever so slightly wide there at Cascades. And look at this train of drivers as well. They're all trying to chase him down. With all the fighting that's been had, we have this battle that goes pretty much, if you include Gogo Beldy, down into 9th place.
Can't tell you, that was definitely a 1x for Joseph Loke on the exit of Cascade. It shouldn't be, but it is. But that was definitely a little bit too far wide going through the exit of the second corner. But again, he's leaving absolutely nothing on the table. Again, it's now or never for this group as they try and close down on Henry Moore. That gap, it's coming down so slowly. It's hundredths of a second. But the thing is, once you get the big part of that slipstream, that's where it will disappear immediately. And I think Joseph Loke, it's just going over the crest of the hill where it's the hardest point for him to close down that margin, and it should get a little bit easier from now on.
Absolutely, but I said ever so tough racing around this circuit as we see Will Chadwick with his webcam giving us some great facial expressions. Of course, he gave us a bit of a wave in the air as he got taken out at the bomb hole in Snetterton just last week. What can he do from this 7th position? He's on the back of Riker as we come up the hill. Is there a way to get through, or is it, you know, when you're in a train like this, so difficult to get past because, of course, the car ahead of you is trying to overtake the car ahead of themselves.
bit wide there through T1. Who was it who Will Chadwick got involved in the incident with? Of course, it was Gergo Bowdy, who's only a couple of positions behind him in this race. That was obviously a week ago. The thing is, though, with it being only a week ago, if there was like a few weeks between rounds, you know, you've got enough time to cool down from it. Let's be honest, 1 week, it's all still fresh in the mind. 4 minutes left to go in this race then, and Henry Moore's lead has been eradicated. It's down now to 0.6 of a second. Joseph Loeb's company's knocking at the door.
Yeah, he is. As soon as he got past Carroll a few laps ago, I thought he might just have a chance at this, but unfortunately for him, Carroll came fighting. They lost that time gap, but it is coming back down, and if Moore starts to feel the pressure, couple of mistakes here and there, 10th here, 10th there. By the time he gets to the final lap, he's going to be well within that slipstream and getting at least an overtaking opportunity to try and get the race win here in that number 84 machine. But Moore is looking very good out towards the front, reminiscent of some of his drives in the Formula Fords last season, and he's bringing it to the big boys in F4 now.
Yes, indeed. When they cross the line, there'll be 2 laps left to go in this race. So still a fair amount of time. It is really the top 8 that are involved in this fight. Beckham just is closed into the back end of the top 10 onto the rear end of Ronnie Smith as well, where Smith takes defensive line going into Lodge. Could be the up and under on what would be an epic drive from Beckham Jasir, who had to start this race from the 23rd and final position on the British F4 Esports grid. He drags himself alongside Ronnie Smith, who takes the inside line at Old Hall. Great battle, but I do think this is a matter of when and not if, as Jasir gets alongside as we head down towards the second real turn and throwing it through the left-hander as they head through Cascades. Might get squeezed out wide here. Brilliant battling between the pair of them. This could see them side by side towards Island Camp.
I think it will. Who is going to back out, or maybe neither of them, as we get through Island Bend right to the outside of the track. But Jasir used all of the road that he needed to. He gets past Ronnie Smith, had to work for it for about 3 corners, and Smith giving him just a nice racing amount of room. Didn't make it too easy or too difficult, and Jasir is through up inside the top 10, as you say, from the back row of the grid. And even for Smith, P11 is looking good, but unfortunately has dropped off 3 seconds to this top 9 battle that we have staying close here at Oulton Park.
Yeah, indeed. I will say, superb effort from Ronnie Smith to have tried keeping Beckham Jasir at bay, who we know Jasir is a top level driver in the world of esports here on iRacing. As we head back up towards the top of this race, penultimate lap. And one of the top drivers in the world of motorsport, really. You know, obviously doing that season in F3, the epic drives that he had at the streets of Monte Carlo to grab himself a couple of points paying finishes. Is Joseph Loeb now knocking at the door of the rear end of Henry Moore. One final lap, one final run around the Oulton Park International Circuit left to go in the first race of the evening.
And I tell you what, he closed up a little bit quicker than I was expecting. So is Moore starting to make some mistakes? He goes wide at Old Hall, and this is a crucial one. Does he go wide at Cascades? Can he hold it on the road? It's looking good for now. No, he does go wide. He may be struggling a little bit here.
Yeah, might have overdone the tyres. We were talking this with Graham Carroll the previous round at Snetterton, where we were saying tyres is a big talking point in this. Joseph Loeb's close. He looks to the outside, might commit to it here. Can't quite do so. We'll look for the up and under. Joseph Loeb cannot work his way through. Henry Moore's putting the car in all the right positions. Overtaking opportunities left to go. Not really at Britain's, but yes, so at his slobs, and definitely down to the final corner, Cam.
Got to be sent at some point, you would think, especially as a reserve driver. Doesn't have to worry so much about the championship. Let's see how this one works. In towards his ops. Hard to the right hand side for Henry Moore. It's going to have to be the outside line, but this actually might be good. It might get him offline as we come through Knickerbrook up the hill. Loeb might have just done enough to find a way through. Yeah, unless Henry Moore stopped it on the apex there at Knickerbrook, could not work his way past. Here we go then, just a few corners left to go. They head up Clay Hill, they work their way through Water Tower, and then into the fast double right-hander as they flick it through Druids. The positions inside the top 10 have changed as Ronnie Smith has got past Beckham Jasir. Out wide goes Joseph Loeb. One final corner left to go at Lodge. Look to the inside, cannot commit to anything. Henry Moore will head through the final corner, and it will be a second victory of the season for Henry Moore, the championship leader, back on top. It has opened the floodgates for him. He took that victory back in Snetterton, and he's back on top here as well. Henry Moore on top from Joseph Loeb after an epic duel here at Oulton Park. It's Loeb, then Carroll, then Gilbert for second, third and fourth. And of course, the likes of Will Murdoch on debut inside the top 5. Elias Riker, Will Chadwick, then Isaac Price, Gergo Bowdy and Ronnie Smith inside the top 10 on debut in the championship. We see this drag race off the final corner up towards the line. Sergio Fitzpatrick against Matthias van Erven. What a race to start the evening for the F4. Still another race to go with the reverse grid. And big drives from Jasir and Brown, 11th and 12th from the back row of the grid. That's an important one for them because that gives them an opportunity potentially to get reverse grid pole, which would be quite something after being excluded from the qualifying session. But the racing that we saw there, the top 4 finishing within half a second, I think this opens up to some amazing action and overtakes in the next race.
Indeed, and again, what an incredible drive from the young man of Henry Moore to have taken yet another victory, this time by 0.2 of a second. We'll catch up with the top 3 in just a few moments' time. But again, absolutely fantastic racing around the Oulton Park International Circuit. But Cam, it's going to be time for the sprinty wheel in a second. 5 through 15, though. It's not 5 through 10. 5 through 15, the drivers that will be rotated round. It couldn't be 14, could it? Oh, my goodness. Well, we're going to be in for quite a second race as 14 drivers will be reversed. Henry Moore will start from 14th position on the grid. I mean, this is going to be fantastic. 0.2 of a second behind Henry Moore was Joseph Loke. Then Graham Carroll onto the podium. We'll catch up with those 3 in just a few moments' time. Remy Gilbert and Will Murdoch there inside the top 5. Elias Riker, Will Chadwick, Isaac Price, Gergo Bowdy and Ronnie Smith did get inside the top 10. So epic drive for Ronnie Smith on debut. The Lone Mentor Racing, driven by us driver. Beckham Jasir in 11th spot with Leo Brown for Guild. Quitiago Martau will finish in 13th position with Yoni Katala. And then we get to some of the drivers who had a bit of drama early on in the day. Mamo Biancalilla, Peter Stachulek down there in 16th position. Matthias van Urban embroiled in that fight with Serge Fitzpatrick up towards the line. Olivia Hayward in 19th position. Ryan McAuliffe, didn't really talk much about him in that race, just kind of a bit nowhere just after the opening lap crash. Moreno Sarika also involved in that, same as Simon Kulik. We also saw Joel Hull and Giuseppe Lafaro embroiled in that fight and embroiled in that crash, to be perfectly honest, as they were sent into the wall. Let's jump straight down into the interviews and have a little chat with Henry Moore on top again in the British F4 Esports Championship. It's another victory. Yeah, okay. Has the floodgates officially been opened now?
Don't say that too early, but yeah, really happy with that. 2 wins on the bounce. Yeah.
What do you make of the circuit? Obviously, you know, Oulton Park's a cracking track. We saw you obviously enjoy it in the Formula Fords. These cars, pretty quick. You had a great fight there with Joseph Loke behind. There was a point you had a second lead, and then that got closed down on by Loke. I mean, it was quite an entertaining race.
Yeah, that was really fun, to be fair. Didn't quite manage to break the toe, so yeah, obviously Joe was on me at the end. Nice to battle with people like him, you know, FIA F3, recently driven F1 car, so yeah, really fun.
Now, let's you've already been told, I'm sure you've already been told the bad news as to what the reverse grid number is. Have you been told?
No.
It's 14, mate. It is 14.
You're joking.
No, I'm not joking. You'll be starting from 14th. As much as I would love to play a prank on you right now, it is 14th position. I mean, what are you thinking about that right now? What's going through your head?
Just keep my nose clean. See what happens. There'll be a lot of carnage, I expect. So, yeah.
Indeed. Well, best of luck. We'll let you mentally prepare for that one, Henry. Cheers, and maybe talk with you in 20 minutes' time.
Yeah, hopefully. See you guys. Cheers.
There we go. Henry Moore, championship leader, and another race win to his name. Let's have a little chat with Joseph Loke. Oh, hello, Joseph. You all right, mate? Onto the podium there after a great battle. Couldn't quite get the victory, though, over Henry Moore, but he still made up some great positions. A good fight with Graham Carroll and the likes as well. What did you make of that one?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for sure. I think obviously starting P4 was difficult. I think, yeah, I should have been qualifying better. Just a bit of a scruffy lap. So yeah, just fought through to P2 and then made a little mistake and was under a bit of attack, so then was just like full push for the rest of the race. But no, it was good fun. Nice to be fighting at the front. So yeah.
What do you make of this car track combo? You won here a couple of times in real life, once in British F4, once in GB3 as well. It's a good car track combo, isn't it?
I do like the place. Obviously F4 cars are something that I drove in real life, and on iRacing they're a lot of fun as well. And then also Oulton Park, in my opinion, one of the best tracks in the UK. And yeah, so it's pretty cool to be racing both of them, especially when you're at the front of the grid. So yeah, it's good fun.
Now, let's speak of the front of the grid, because you're no longer at it. You've been involved now higher up in a race, and now you're in the reverse grid, which, of course, had to be very, very big. 13th position you're going to be starting in for the second race. This is going to be a very chaotic race. Henry was saying about keeping his nose clean through that one. What's your game plan? Is this full attack? Obviously, you know, you're only in there for the odd round here and there.
I won't go easy, put it that way. But I'm not here to cause chaos. So yeah, well, I'll just see what we can do. Obviously, P13 from, around Oulton is pretty difficult to go forward. So, I don't know. Let's aim for top 10, and if we get any better, then I'll be happy with that.
Not here to cause chaos. Well, that remains to be seen. Cheers, Joe, and good luck in the next race.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Joseph Lake then, of course, onto the podium here. Superb effort from him. We'll jump down now to Graham Carroll, who, of course, was onto the podium again. Graham, let's talk about that race. Third position. You were in second for a little bit. You went for the race win, and unfortunately went out a little bit wide. We'll talk about that move.
Just getting backed up from lap one, right? So as soon as I went to P3, Henry started to put the foot down and pulled away. Well, not pulled away, but kept the gap a bit, right? So just try to back me up a bit into the field, I guess. And I tried to make the move, and yeah, the extra wind at the last corner just pushed me on a little bit, so I went a bit wide. So after that, it was just trying to race this Lope guy. He'll end your championship in a heartbeat, right? So I just tried to play the sensible game, and a P3 is better than a DNF. So yeah, shame the race pace was rapid, but there's nothing I could really do. So pity.
It's one of those ones. Oulton Park is a difficult circuit to overtake at, isn't it? And yeah, we're kind of seeing that quite a bit. Is that what you felt? You were talking about tyres back in Snetterton. I assume that's not too much of a thing here.
Not as much anyway. After I did have a little battle with Joseph, my front tyres were a little bit cooked, so took a couple of laps to come back there. But yeah, not as much here. And then hopefully in this next race it's going to be wet, so it's a different ball game altogether. But yeah, managing off tracks here, just keeping it on the road, and it's a tricky circuit, and it's close racing, so yeah, not easy at all.
It is a tight track. Reverse grid races are going to be pretty chaotic, and the reverse grid number was 14, so you'll be starting from 12th. It's a big reverse grid, biggest we've seen, really. What are you expecting from it, especially if we're going to get some serious rain for the second race?
Well, I'm joining now, and we have rain, so it's well. Yeah, it looks like it could be wet. So now I knew the tightest track of the season, it would be the biggest number, right? So again, honestly, it's just damage limitation. Get as far up the grid as we can. We know that Matt's not here this week, so even if Henry's still outscoring me there, I still want to be pulling away from Matt in P3. So still a long way to go, halfway point. So still enjoying it.
Do you know what? As it's wet, Graham, we'll let you jump out on the circuit, get a couple of laps before the second race. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
There you go. Graham Carroll then onto the podium once more. And again, excellent stuff. Love that one. And again, brilliant race. Really enjoyed it. And by the sounds of it, we're going to have a pretty exciting one for the second here.
Yeah, so reverse grid is one thing, especially around Oulton Park being 14 cars, but then you add rain into the mix, it's going to be utter chaos. I don't think we can predict who the winner is going to be of this, because literally anyone on the grid can. So let's see what happens. I think for those three that we heard from, obviously, Joseph not necessarily doing all of the races this season, not so much involved, but with Henry Moore, he looks fired up, he looks confident coming into this. Graham still seems to maybe have the slight mindset of getting the point. So I'm interested how they're going to attack this, from the 6th and 7th row of the grid.
Well, before we jump straight into the second race, we're going to have a bit of a breather, a little bit of a chat between ourselves, and let you enjoy a little bit of an interview as well.
Hi, I'm Leo Brown. I race for Guild Esports in the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. Started back in 2020 in lockdown. Bought a simulator purely to keep racing, karting simulator, F1, you name it, and then got into iRacing on 2021 and progressed from there. It's been a pleasure. I think we're building month on month through all the championships and building a strong roster. I think it's only up from here for all of us. To be honest, we'll see after the first couple of rounds, but as a racing driver, you always want to win, so yeah, I'm here to win. It means a lot. I've come from a background of real-life racing, so to be able to compete on the simulator properly is really good. It helps me for real life as well. I think sim racing is growing a lot recently, and hopefully in the future as well. So to be a part of it is really nice. Probably the field size, I'd say. 30 cars on the grid is going to be quite interesting around some of the tracks like Brands Hatch, Indy and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see with that. And I think it would be a case of keeping your nose clean and who's the most consistent at the end of the day will come out on top.
Leo Brown there, of course, one of the contenders in the Teams Championship for the Guild Esports team. So very good to hear from him. But of course, you can see here as we jump into practice, it is very wet indeed. Lewis McGlade, Cameron Roger, and Hugo Luis bringing us the cameras as well, ready to take you through the second race of the evening. And of course, at the end of this, we're halfway through the season. A 14-car reverse grid, though, Cam, puts us right on the edge of what is destined to be a thriller.
Yeah, it's always good when there's more cars reversed than not reversed behind that as well. It's over half the field here, and we are on wet tyres, sliding our way through. Can he save it just about? Lovely save there through Shell Oils. And yes, it is wet out there, so that is Henry Moore, who of course be starting 14th place. How does he attack this? Because it's a sprint race as such, being 20 minutes, but 20 minutes is also a long time if there's, you know, 1 or 2 spinners every lap that just fall by the wayside and you go through easily.
I think the most important bit is surviving the first lap, right? That's kind of like number one on the checklist. And I know that sounds simple, but obviously we know that in conditions like this, it is not simple. I'm not looking to make up any moves on that first lap. I'm looking for nothing on that first lap except surviving, making sure the car's getting through with as little damage as possible. I'm expecting a little bit. I'm expecting something, a bent front wing or anything like that. But it's just about getting through with the car in one piece. Once you get from that, then you can kind of level things out and see where we're at in the race. The problem is, if you try and work up 2 or 3 positions on that first lap and you're thinking about already making progress, in my opinion, you're more likely to get involved in a very, very large incident. Because when you see that crash up ahead, you think, oh, I'm going to try and take advantage of this. But you don't have the grip that you have in the dry to take advantage of it.
But sometimes when you go too cautious, you then get hit from behind from someone who's being aggressive at the same time. So it's very difficult to lift your foot off the pedal, and that is why it's impossible to predict how this is going to go. And this is proper wet as well. This isn't like what we saw in the Formula Fords, where it's a little bit damp and drizzly. This is actual rain, wet tyres on the cars, and a completely different driving style for them as they get themselves prepared for this second race. So I do not envy them at all, to be honest. I wouldn't want to be in these situations necessarily. Very tough one, and you have just you know, these 5-10 minutes to get back up to speed.
I'm seeing a lot of drivers really struggle in these conditions, as we can see here. Quite a large moment indeed as we ride on board with Graham Carroll up Clay Hill. And I'm just going to roll you through the practice times at the moment. These aren't really relevant, but we'll still roll you through them anyway. Joseph Loke is at the top of the session on a 49.2. That is slower than the Formula Fords were going in their dry racing earlier on. 49.2. Will Chadwick is second, 49.9. And then we've got a string of drivers on the 50s. It's Remy Gilbert, Yoni Cattler, Isaac Price, Will Murdoch, Henry Moore, Leo Brown and Graham Carroll all running on the Fisher Moreno streak, also in a 1 minute 50. They're all quite a lot slower than Joseph Lake at the moment. I think it's just as drivers are trying to find the grip around the circuit, because again, you've got to change up your racing line. You can't just stick it on the normal dry racing line, because that's actually extra slippy in this.
Absolutely. The rubbered line, you then put the water on top of the rubber and it actually turns slippery. So even though in the dry, you want that rubber. In the wets, you don't. So you will be seeing some drivers go slightly offline, and that will affect the overtaking opportunities as such, because you're naturally covering off the inside of the corner. So different and tricky styles for these drivers, but it is crunch time now for those who still want to be in contention as we hit halfway point in the season.
Yes, indeed. They'll grid their way up, and I'll talk this through you quickly because we don't have much time before we're racing for the second race of the evening. 14 cars reversed leaves Yanni Kattler on pole position with Thiago Martau in second position. Leo Brown rising up the order, third position. He'll start this race alongside Beckham Jazir, who started in the rear of the grid in the previous race. Ronnie Smith and Gogo Bowdy in fifth and sixth position. Before we get to Isaac Price, Will Chadwick, Elias Riker and Will Murdoch for BS competition on row 5, with Remy Gilbert and Graham Carrow finished the first race on the podium. Then we get the top two from the previous race of Joseph Loke and Henry Moore, the champion leader in 14th position. Manuel Biancalilla in 15th, with Stachulek in 16th position. Matthias Van Erven in 17th, just beating out Sergio Fitzpatrick on the line in 18th position, with Olivia Hayward, Ryan McAuliffe, Moreno Sarica, Simon Kulik, Joel Hull and Giuseppe Lafaro, the 24 cars on this grid. Of course, a lot of those drivers had drama in the first race, and I get the feeling a lot of them are going to have drama in the second. It's time for the second race in the 8th one of the season here at Oulton Park as we get underway for the second race of the evening. A good start there from our pole sitter in Yanni Kattler, able to beat out Thiago Martau down in the first corner. Martau's though still got a bit of an overlap, but as they head through that puddle at the first corner, it'll wash all the cars out wide, almost into the pathway of Leo Brown, who works his way through into second position. Already a couple of cars off the road, and I believe that might well be Henry Moore, who's having a bit of a problem at the first corner as he drops back down the order. It is indeed Moore, who's had a big drama on the first lap.
And I believe it was Joseph Loke up ahead of him as well. So your P1, P2 from the previous race, they've had some issues. They are in P12 and 13, so not doing too badly, haven't really lost any positions, but that was certainly a big moment and could have costed them this race already just on that first lap. We're coming into Shellows for the first time, completely different lines being used, a lot higher up on that bank, and Graham Carroll making the move on Isaac Price there for 9th place, as we're seeing Loke and Biancalilla dropping down. This is actually Loke and Moore having a battle as they work their way closer and closer to the top 10, but it's P12 for now.
Apologies to the Moore family. I want to update myself. It was actually Ray Gilbert that was running wide. From 11th position, he's dropped down to outside of the top 16. I think he's in 17th position at the moment. Beckham Jazir then getting down the inside of Thiago Martau, who's gone straight on going through his slops. Ronnie Smith will then pick up the position as there is a bit more of a drama in the background. I think there might be a spin coming in from Remy Gilbert. There is a spin coming in from Martau, though, as he's rejoined the race circuit. There is chaos a little bit as they head their way through Knickerbrook.
Yeah, that was a very awkward indeed. Some drivers losing some positions. Murdoch gets Martau as well. Martau from the front row down into 8th place. That is a big drop just in half a lap so far. We work our way through Druids for the first time in these wet conditions, and we've seen a big slide there from Martau. So Carroll is going to get down the inside of him as we get down towards Lodge Corner for the first time of asking. Oh, there's a bit of contact actually between the two as Martau goes wide. He's really struggling.
That's Will Chadwick actually, who's run out wide. It was side by side between himself and Gogo Bowdy that pushed Will Chadwick out wide. Will Murdoch has come through in the battle between the wheels. 6th and 7th position between the pair of them at the moment. The BS competition driver now ahead. Henry Moore gets himself ahead of Elias Riker. First lap complete. The big championship protagonists are still in this race, but Graham Carroll is pulling out a decent margin on Henry Moore at the moment. 8th place, 12th, as Yanni Kattler continues to lead here at Cheshire. It is Leo Brown then in second position with Beckham Jazir, Ronnie Smith, then Gogo Bowdy, Will Chadwick behind Will Murdoch there in 6th and 7th, with Graham Carroll, Thiago Martau and Isaac Price the top 10. Couple of looks as they head down into Island. Martau and Price going side by side in the background.
Yeah, certainly are, and in these wet conditions into such a fast corner, that is pretty crazy. Loke has gone off. Has he gone wide in towards Island Bend maybe? He's off into the grass, and from your P2 in the previous race, rejoining, he's now down in 20th place.
Yeah, he definitely was running wide there, and I think Clip to Wheel will take instantly a look at a replay of some of the opening stuff. That was Remy Gilbert with the number 48 there as well. So that's how Matthias Van Erven had his problems. Here's another look at it. So Erven into the back of the number 14 of Manuel Biancalilla, sent them for a spin. So a bit of a disaster chicane there for the Williams Esports Academy team. As there we'll see the inside coming from Kulik. And it'll be him going for a bit of a spin. This is what happened to Loke though, just out wide, clips the grass, and bye-bye.
Yeah, so sketchy out there. And I mean, there was space, and oh wow, just 1 centimeter onto the grass, really. That's all it was, and that was enough to flip-flop the car. And unfortunately, he is still down in that 20th place, so but no real sort of points coming on the board for him. And a big shame, of course, for the Aston Martin team, who are really needing some good results, because Bianca Lilla's down in P14 after struggling in that first race as well.
Big drama, though, in the championship for Remy Gilbert, who is obviously out of the race, meaning for the Guild Academy team, it is just this driver, the main one, scoring the points for the Guild Academy, for the Guild Esports team. I don't know what I said, but it's fine. I blank out on myself 9 times out of 10. I know you do sat at home as well. Leo Brown, the lone driver, scoring points for the team that's going for the team's championship. For the Ferrari team, who they're closest to in that team's championship, Gergo Bowdy and Graham Carroll once again scoring really well in this race. Ryan McAuliffe has had a moment, promoting Joel Hull into 15th position.
It's ever-changing corner-by-corner drivers sliding around and struggling there, as we were seeing Ronnie Smith momentarily in a very good position once more, up into P4, holding his own there as Isaac Price has gone off, potentially down in towards Shell Oils. He's got 3-4 cars going past him already, down in towards now 15th place, as we're seeing Hayward having some issues as well, and a car just managing to avoid. I think that was Loke and a couple of the Williams cars. They all got off onto the grass, but no contact.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was so difficult. This is what's happened to Ryan McAuliffe, out a little bit wide at the second corner on the circuit, and just going out wide. This is Matthias van Erven, the next one to have gone off the road at Cascade. So a few of them going off the road and cascading their way down the field. Could it to go round this time in a slightly different way, right in the middle of the field? I think that shows how difficult the conditions are. Side by side for third position. Beckham Jasir to the outside as he goes side by side with Ronnie Smith. Big snaps of oversteer from the pair of them, and Jasir goes straight around the outside to hang on the third spot. Excellent racing between the two who were battling for the final position inside the top 10 in the previous race. Ronnie Smith gets to the outside. There's contact between the pair of them as they head their way in. And again, brilliant racing as Gergo Bowdy stone cold behind the pair of them as into the pit lane comes Beckham Jasir.
And that is in pivotal moments. That was looking good for easy top 10. Oh no, is there contact, or was Bowdy just losing the rear end there? I think he was pushed into that position. We're also seeing Murdoch go off. Was he the one making that contact from behind?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a bit odd to have had a solo moment there. Obviously, we did see some aquaplaning on a straight in the Formula Fords back in Snetterton in that quite wet race. That is not what happened there. There was definite contact, and I believe you're absolutely right. It would have been Murdoch into the rear end of Gergo Bowdy. That is a big moment for the team's championship, though, because it means that Ferrari have only got one driver in this race scoring points. Here's a spin, though, coming through from Kulik on the exit of the likes of Druids, and there is already the damaged car of Gergo Bowdy. We'll take a replay of that in just a moment. I mean, you are spot on right. I think there might have been a little bit, to be fair, from Chadwick behind.
Yeah, that was Skittles. That was pure Skittles. Chadwick into Murdoch. Murdoch into the back of Bowdy there. But I think, to be honest, Murdoch was coming in a bit hot himself. So all of them taking some risks on the brakes. And I wonder, is it getting more wet out on the track? Because as the race goes on, they're not settling into the conditions. If anything, it's getting worse, and there's more cars sliding around. It really is absolutely sodden out there.
Yeah, and you know what? If I'm Graham Carroll right now, I'm feeling pretty happy that I'm a little bit ahead of Henry Moore. If I'm Henry Moore, I'm very happy right now. I'm in 6th position. I've got clear road ahead. Here's the onboard of Chadwick. I mean, he was squeezed a little bit there. I will not saying that he was squeezed off the road, but in these conditions, I wouldn't want to be squeezing cars, just generally speaking, because it is already really difficult to drive at the best of times. And when you're giving them a narrow line into the first corner, I actually kind of want to give the people that I'm battling with enough space so that if they do lock up or whatever, they're not going into me.
Absolutely. You need to allow for some margin for error in these situations, because it's impossible to be perfect. We saw that with Ronnie Smith and his battle a little bit ago with Jasir talking. There is the 12 machine having another battle on the prismatic cars, the number 7 sliding in big further contact. That's a shame from the car, who was gifted such a good starting position in this race, and it is just going from bad to worse.
In the side-by-side there's Fitzpatrick going off the road then, and like you say, just kind of, I mean, couldn't avoid the 12 at all there. It's just making contact there with the Williams of Beckham Jasir. There's Gergo Bowdy having a bit of a moment with a lack of rear wing and just coming across this fight as well, as they're all trying to rejoin the circuit. Say fighters and fight to return to the track. All very chaotic indeed. You can see in the side-by-side, Hull is going right on the attack here at the back end of the top 10. So that's superb, as we're seeing a calamitous amount of errors between this grouping. Here's Murdoch going for a spin at the final corner. And like you say, we're going to see a lot of that throughout this race. Back to the action, and we'll see Will Chadwick there. Like I say, great fighting that we've seen in the side-by-side with Bianca Lilla, Hull and Price. And I suspect there'll be more battling to jump back to there, as Hull's having a great drive in this one.
And just something that we have slowly lost the point of as well is Katala up towards the front, as there has been the issues potentially down to Hislops. Hull has lost out to Riker, Bianca Lilla's lost out to Loke, and also Sarika's got past him. So 2 cars at the same time losing a couple of places.
Let's see then. So Hull's to the inside. Oh, there's big contact between the pair. I mean, just a bit awkward there in the braking zone. So Hull goes straight on, which is what cost him the position to Riker and then to Isaac Price as he was settling the slowdown. One of them might be some damage on the 3M UK car there. Back up to Hull's teammate and Will Chadwick trying to get himself onto the podium. At the moment, Ronnie Smith on his debut weekend at the British F4 Esports Championship is in the prime position to take 3rd place at the moment. Leo Brown ahead of him. 1.4 seconds down the road is Yoni Katala.
Absolutely. So Katala's looking very strong, and G2 in general, they've actually not been too bad in the last couple of rounds. Price has had some decent results as well, so this is not looking too bad for them, as Chadwick gets a massive run on Smith as we come through Cascade. Smith running a bit wide, Chadwick going straight to that inside line to get that move done. Smith actually backs out of it before we even get to the corner. We get to the braking zone though. Can they get themselves through into Warshalos? And they can, so Smith doesn't go too deep on the brakes. And that is another place for Chadwick up into 3rd, who is quite far back in the championship points compared to Henry Moore, but still in a decent position up towards the top 5.
Indeed. This is a first proper wet race in British F4 Esports, isn't it? I mean, we've had a little bit of rain earlier on in the season, but like not like this.
Yeah, this is like monsoon almost. It's soaked out there.
Yeah, indeed. It is very uncomfortable indeed. And so an interesting time for the British F4 Esports Championship. We obviously didn't have rain last season, courtesy of it being fairly new for iRacing, and it wasn't ready on the Formula 4s until later in the season. And then we didn't want to change the rules to bring it in for the latter part of the season. So it's just joined us for the 2024 rendition of the British Formula 4 Esports Championship. And like I say, it's a welcome addition to the championship, especially with the drama it's really causing. It's causing a fair amount in this one. Not too much though when it comes to the championship, because Graham Carroll, he's in 5th position at the moment. He is closing up to the back of Ronnie Smith though, and Carroll's having a pretty epic drive at the moment as he's trying to work his way really back into proper championship contention. He is in championship contention, fair enough, but these are the kind of times where he is thinking big points. Let's take some off of Henry Moore, who's likely only going to finish this race in 6th position. It's 4 seconds back from Graham Carroll to Henry Moore.
Yeah, it's only 1 position, but the important factor is Moore can't do anything extra in this race, whereas Carroll can do with the cars up ahead of him. The 31 now, Joe Hull, up the inside in towards turn 1. Old Hall caught around the outside for Price, though. He continues. Oh, he gets a bit of a wheel spin, though. And here comes Joseph Loke, who was, of course, 2nd place in the previous race. Can he get down the inside as well of Hull in towards Cascade? So they continue to go side by side. Oh, he succumbs wide, though. I think Price came a little bit wide. Contact was made. Loke, I think, has had to go on the grass to avoid that, too.
Yeah, Hull gave absolutely plenty of room there on the inside, but I'm not saying it's really like anything major of Isaac Price. As soon as he got onto the wet bit, which is the track, Isaac Price was just basically understeering straight into the side of Hull there. So pretty lucky that Hull got out of that one without any major damage on the car, but 9th place is that for Hull. 6 seconds now back is Hull from this battle between Thiago Martel and Elias Riker. So the BS competition driver trying to get past the Williams Esports Academy man.
Yeah, that was certainly a tough battle through Cascades, just showing you how difficult it is as we see Hull once more go with an Aston Martin driver in towards this corner. No contact, as it's now Loke compared to Bianca as it was before. And Loke is doing a great recovery here to get up some positions inside the top 10 now. Realistically, this is sort of the last real opportunity unless he can catch down the couple of cars ahead. Bit of a gap though, up about 7 seconds ahead. We come back to this battle at the front though as they started to catch down Katala.
Yeah, indeed. Riker and Martel have switched over positions because I think Thiago Martel has been off the road slightly, going on the exit of Druids. Back up to the battle for, like you say, second and third spot. They are closing down the Cattler, as you've been alluding to. Ronnie Smith is involved in this fight as well. Will Chadwick's got a much better run than Leo Brown as they head through the first corner. And calm as you like, look at the facial expression change. It didn't, because he knew exactly that position was done before it was even thought about. Will Chadwick then up into second position. Could he be looking at the back of another victory after the dramas in the second race at Snetterton? We're on board with Ronnie Smith, who's definitely involved in this fight for the podium as well. Graham Carroll, I think he's dropped back from this potentially with intent here. He's thinking, look, I'm in fifth position right now. These lot are all going to fight, and there's likely to be a big crash. I want the space to work into.
That is very true, because he's got 5 seconds to his championship rival Henry Moore in behind. With Caruana missing this round, it is going to be a two-way battle as Martel has gone off. He's dropping way down. He's actually gone back to the pit lane after issues there, and he's had all sorts of problems in this race, and that's just going to add to it.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, there's going to be plenty of dramas. There is Martel's moment. Oh, it's going to be a big one into the barrier. And that is the rear wing gone for Thiago Martel. Back to the battle then for the race victory. Like I said, there's plenty of tight fights around the circuit. Joseph Loke just got past Joel Hull. So Loke up now into 8th position as return up the order after early dramas. As we'll work our way through Druids, it's still tight for the race lead. Couple of kicks of oversteerers. Ronnie Smith's got a good drive off the corner in the Mensa Racing car. Can't quite get past Leo Brown, who's just holding it to the inside. Got to be careful here not to make contact with the rear end of the 33 there. And the Guild driver doing everything he can to defend. But look at this drive coming off the corner from Will Chadwick. He's got a look to the inside coming in from Yoni Cattler as they head their way down into the first turn. About 3 laps left to go. Contact between the top two. Will Chadwick could be going on here. He doesn't do so. And the 88 of Will Chadwick, with an epic move down into T1, takes over the race lead. He started this one from 8th. He's worked his way up the order, and he currently leads here at Oulton Park.
Yeah, he's looking very strong, isn't he? And remember, the previous race that he won was also a reverse grid race, so he knows what he's doing in these situations. And it's now really down to just a 4-way fight with Carroll, as you say. He's dropped off the back of this one, so it's not looking too bad for him. Are we side by side in the background? Not quite enough, but certainly Brown and Smith are thinking about it at least. Cattler will be, I think, a bit disappointed that he's let a 2-second lead slip. That just shows you how difficult these conditions are. And already it's 6/10 to Chadwick in the lead.
Yeah, looking for another reverse grid victory. Are you saying then that Will Chadwick is a reverse grid bandit? That's fine.
I think he
your
is.
words, not mine.
I think he is, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, because he maybe doesn't have that last 10th of a second to win due to the qualifying speed, but in the reverse grid, this is where you get the points for the championship.
I'll drop that in the interview. Cameron Roger thinks you're not fast enough to win a normal race. That's absolutely fine.
Do it.
No, I'm straight on it. You know me and Will. I'll drop that one straight in. Giuseppe Lafaro and Manuel Biancalilla having a bit of a moment, and they're dropping down the order after what I'm assuming is an instant. Manuel Biancalilla into the pit lane. So there has been some drama further down the order as we head back up to the battle for second position. Yoni Cattler in the G2 Esports car, the black and white with red highlights, going out wide here at Druids. Leo Brown trying to get underneath. But goes for a spin as he hits a bit of the wet bit. And coming through, Graham Carroll read that brilliantly, gets to the inside and works his way through into 4th position. Brown could be able to keep Henry Moore at bay because, to be fair, they won't want those two to switch round, because for the Guild Esports team, this is important points in the team's championship. This is what happened to Biancalilla and Lafaro.
Yeah, Lafaro sort of spinning in front of him, and Biancalilla couldn't really do too much. So yeah, Brown goes to the inside, thinks he's got an opening, but he's actually on a slightly wetter part of the track and can't quite get the power down, because he's also having to put a bit more steering angle in. So it's just bad timing with all of that, but good timing for Graham Carroll. As you say, Lewis, dropped off that extra half a second, and that was enough to avoid that crash. Yeah,
this is an extremely strong grid, but trust me, they are being put to the test. Ronnie Smith putting himself to the test as well on British F4 Esports debut, into the inside of Yoni Cattler to move his way through into 2nd position. This would be an epic drive from Ronnie Smith and an epic debut in the championship after a solid result in the first race to get inside, to be battling to get inside the top 10 and finishing in 10th position in the previous race. The fact that he's coming through from 5th to 2nd position, superb stuff. Leo Brown, I think, has had yet another spin as he drops back to 7th spot.
Certainly that gives a place to Henry Moore. So, of course, Carroll, he's having a strong day, but so is Henry Moore. So just one position in terms of the championship, but there's 6 seconds between them. So Moore has dropped off a little bit. Let's see what happens to the 33 machine. He goes in there, just loses the rear end, taking a bit too much speed in. Taps the wall. That should be okay regarding getting to the end. But what is not okay is the 6 of Lafaro. He's got some engine issues. The 48 of Van Erven, he's going off as well as he's a bit wide into Cascades.
Yeah, this is so difficult. And I think those drivers that have gone off once, that it gets in their head and the car maybe not acting so well. Like I say, it's causing its fair share of problems. This is a big moment, though, for the Ferrari team. We'll be pulling out a fair amount of points on the Guild Esports team. Because for Guild, they're running in 7th position at the moment and in 16th. It will become 15th courtesy of Lafaro's retirement for the race. So Guild will be scoring some more right points. Gogo Bowdy is already out of the race, so it comes down to just Graham Carroll, but he's looking for a podium and could well get it here. He's closed his way back up to the rear end of Yanni Kattler. We thought it was within 10. He was holding off from this group, but now he's intending on working his way through. To the outside, there's a little bit of contact as Yanni Kattler runs out wide, same as Kattler's teammate did earlier on in the race, as Isaac Price washed out a little bit wide. Bit of contact between the pair of them, and Graham Carroll has worked his way through into a podium. Could it be a double podium for Graham Carroll here at the Oulton Park International Circuit? We are on the final lap and he is in position for it.
Now that was brave. The outside of Cascades, Kattler could have so easily just gone wide and pushed him off, and that could have been maybe even championship over for Carroll if he dropped down the points massively. Big move and big plays, because that puts another car between him and Henry Moore, and Kattler should be able to hold that one on the track. We come back though to this battle. Loke has got up into 7th place after his off. Leo Brown, he's been around. Also Joe Hull. All 3 of these drivers, they've been around, but they're still well inside the top 10.
I think Hull's driving really well this race, got to be said. I mean, again, considering it's a debut season for him, really kind of more of a debut. He's got probably the least amount of experience in sim racing at this kind of level as any driver on this grid. So to say that he's battling with Leo Brown and Joseph Loke, I mean, Joseph Loke's a Formula 3 driver, for goodness sake.
Yeah, that is quite something. And to be fair, all of these drivers are at a good level, but it's always that last little bit of performance that you can maybe lose out with some nerves, with some lack of experience, but he's keeping himself calm inside the top 9. We are in this final lap. Chadwick leads by 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to cause a slip up here. Will Chadwick's been perfect in this race. He started this one in 8th position, and with an epic drive and an epic move, just as he crosses the line. Epic victory for Will Chadwick around the Oulton Park circuit. He takes his 2nd victory in the British F4 Esports Championship. It is Chadwick on top. Ronnie Smith will come across the line for his first podium in his first round of the championship. So epic stuff from Ronnie Smith in the first wet race. Graham Carroll doing an epic job for his championship to come through into 3rd. As Leo Brown and Joseph Loke very tight across the line, but it will go the way of Joseph Loke for 7th position. So we've got Graham Carroll, Yanni Kattler, Henry Moore, Elias Riker, Joseph Loke, Leo Brown, Joel Holler, Moreno Sirica across the line inside the top 10. What a drive, though. I know I've said it a couple of times, but Hull's been fantastic in this one to come through inside the top 10. Brilliant stuff to survive in what is some of the most difficult conditions. All the drivers across the line on the lead lap have done a really solid job, because surviving here, really difficult in these cars.
Yeah, tough track, and then you add in the rain into that. That was crazy scenes that we were seeing. All of the drivers sliding around all over the place. The speed of the hands had to be there, and we unfortunately though we did see a few drivers drop the car. It is just so difficult. We saw some skittles as well out there on the track, but that's just how it is. And in the end, it was Chadwick in the 88 machine who was able to get past Kattler when it mattered and then pull away.
I mean, look at this move. This is so bad. We didn't quite see it when we were live because we had so much to look through. I know that doesn't look like much, but the bravery to break that late on, sure, on the inside line, like that requires a lot of guts. And you're putting it all on the line at that point. It was a little bit of contact as Kattler was sliding around the inside as well. Honestly, brilliant drive from Will Chadwick. And he seals victory again. 3M UK then on top. Ronnie Smith in 2nd position. We'll talk with those in just a moment, along with Graham Carroll for the 2nd time this evening. Yanni Kattler in 4th position, denied the podium, but not by much. Henry Moore, 5th position. Solid result for the champ leader after the double victory at the 2nd race at Stettin, and of course the 1st race this evening. Backing it up with a 5th place here. Elias Riker in 6th position with Joseph Loke, Leo Brown and Joel Hull. Very tight across the line between the trio there, 7th, 8th and 9th. Moreno Sirica wasn't too far behind either. As we'll see on to the second page of the results, 11 on down. Isaac Price, that probably a bit of a disappointing evening for him considering the pace that was behind the G2 Esports driver. Matthias van Erven, Olivia Hayward and Serge Fitzpatrick, 13th and 14th, decent for the Prismatic team, with Giuseppe Lafaro finishing a lap down. Mamo Yankalila and Remy Gilbert, 17th position for the Guild Esports driver. There'll be a lot of questions for the Guild team after what was a difficult day in the second race at least. Will Murdoch there on debut, of course doing a good job in the first race, not so good in the second. Ryan McCallum and Gritiago Martau in 20th spot, all retiring from the race. Beckham Jasir, Goga Bowley, Peter Studacek and of course Simon Kulik. Alpine not having a good one in there. We'll catch up with our top three finishers, and of course, we'll speak to Will Chadwick first. On top again, and let's talk about that. What a fantastic victory, especially after the dramas that you had last round with that incident with Goga Bowley at Bombhole, of course, Snetterton. That was a solid performance, epic drive, and an epic victory. How are you feeling right now?
Pretty good. Firstly, sorry to the incident I had at turn 1 for the people driving. I got squeezed onto a puddle, and unfortunately in these cars, when you hit a puddle and you're on the brakes, you lock up. So, I mean, I did what I could to avoid the incident. I hope the stewards see it in the way that I see it, but I doubt that. But yeah, no, thank you. Knew I had some good pace in the warm-up, so I gave it my best shot.
Yeah, I mean, we did see that incident down into turn 1. Looked like a tricky one. Of course, that's just the nature of this racing. Sometimes it can be a little bit difficult. What was going through your mind at that very moment?
I just needed to make positions, right? So I was trying to make... the problem is, when you try and overtake in the wet, you go offline, you're on the rubber. And in a car without any ABS, it's quite hard to make a move. Sometimes if a car ahead of you is not making mistakes. So... I was just trying to get through because I knew that I had good pace, but I was a little bit far back. So I was just trying to make moves, and you know, I'd never want contact like that to happen. It's not my intention, but it's just unfortunate. And I'm sorry to the guys that came off badly from it.
Now, Cameron Roger was classifying you as a reverse grid bandit after another good reverse grid race, saying that maybe you're lacking the 10th or 2 to win in a main race. That's what he said. That's not what I said. That's what he said. What do you think of that? I mean, do you think you've got that extra couple of tenths to go after Henry Moore and Graham Carroll in the first race? It seems like you've got the pace in you.
In the dry, probably not. I didn't really focus much on the dry because both our races were scheduled to be wet, or very, very likely to be wet. So I think we were quite unlucky for it not to be wet in the first race, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. And I got along with it, made sure I was in those reverse grid places, and then capitalised when I knew I had the pace and the practice on this wet circuit.
Well, great result regardless. And again, a fantastic race victory for you, Will. And I'm sure we've got a few more to talk about throughout the second half of this season. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
There we go, Will Chadwick on top here for the second race here at Oulton Park. We'll catch a chat with Ronnie Smith. Wow, we said, obviously a reserve driver jumping in for his first round in British F4 Esports. Obviously, he did the Formula 4s last year and showed fantastically in here. Did you think coming into this round there was any potential of you grabbing a podium on this stacked field?
No, definitely not.
Oh, here you are on the podium. I mean, how do you feel?
Yeah, it feels good. It's been a difficult few days. Obviously, I was racing in Petit Le Mans at the weekend, so I've only had a few days of preparation, and the rest of the boys are out in Valencia and doing motorsport games, so it's just been me. It's just been quite difficult, but, you know, it's paid off.
Obviously, in the first race, you had a good battle to grab the final spot inside the top 10 as well against Beckham Jasir. And in this one, you had to work your way forward as well. It wasn't given to you at any point. How difficult has it been to take this car around the circuit, especially in the second race in those really, really difficult conditions?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the hardest combinations I've driven in a long time. It's very slippy, not much grip around, so it's just searching and waiting. I knew the opportunities would come eventually, because, you know, the cars are so on edge, it's like driving on very thin ice. So I thought the opportunities had come, and then they did, and we just had to take advantage of it when the opportunities came around, which I thought we did quite well.
Yeah, indeed. Obviously, you said there about like Matt and Kieran, they were off in Valencia and stuff. Yeah, we were just speaking about that. We're missing a few drivers from this round, courtesy of that. I mean, are you having communication? Are you going to be keeping an eye on what's happening over in Valencia? And has that maybe boosted you a little bit on here, knowing that you're the only one representing the team and pushing that forward?
Yeah, obviously the boys are off doing their stuff out there and representing the country well. You know, they're very good at what they do, and I knew that I had big shoes to fill. So I knew I'd have to work hard and do the team well, especially with there only being one car out. Championship-wise, they needed a good point-scoring round, even when there's no one here. You know, so hopefully, I think the team are happy. I don't know why they wouldn't be, but.
I think you very much outdone yourself with a 10th place and a 2nd place. Ronnie Smith on debut here in the British F4 Esports Championship. Congratulations, and hopefully we're speaking to you in the near future. I'm expecting there's more British F4 Esports campaign out of you soon.
Yeah, well, I very much hope so after that.
Cheers, Ronnie. See you in a bit.
Thank you.
There we go. Ronnie Smith onto the podium on debut here. And of course, the next driver will be joining. It'll be Graham Carroll again. He's back here, and points. This time definitely worked out. Great drive in really, really difficult conditions. I mean, talk us through your race. Obviously, you had to rise your way through the order and keep it clean.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's always great to mix a bit of weather up with some iRacing. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. But I think we got 4 cars, lap 1, 2 off the line. I got Price round the outside of the hairpin, and then one of the Williams cars out of Druids or the second last corner. So honestly, really enjoyed it. Might have pushed a bit hard there and just had no rears left. I could kind of see Chadwick Will was in a world of his own, but after doing his PESC sort of qualifiers, I knew that he'd have a lot of info and know what's right to do in the wet. So yeah, it's don't get me wrong, he did clean 2 cars out though going into turn 1, so I expect probably a P2 out of it. But honestly, hats off to Will and Ronnie for the drive. Thoroughly enjoyed that.
Now, me and Cam both noticed at one point in the race when I think it was the top I mean, it might be 2nd, 3rd, and 4th were very close. You were in 5th position. Did you intentionally back off to give yourself quite a gap? Because they looked like they were getting quite feisty in that, and it looked like you kind of left that gap intentionally. Or was that a bit of a struggle for speed through the midpoint?
I think, see, when you do have a little moment, it just loses your confidence and you're scared for a couple of laps. So I maybe had a couple of moments and I thought, you know what, I'm 6 seconds ahead of Henry. I don't need to do anything crazy here. So yeah, and then when you seen Leo spun out of the second last turn, and I didn't know which way he was going to go. So like, why do I need to push these guys around and fight the ball? And don't get me wrong, last lap I was desperate for a podium, so I went for it. But yeah, just playing the long game again. It's so easy for a group of guys to have a shunt, and it's a bit misty in the rain. You can't really see a lot, and it just pops up in front of you. So I just wanted to finish, make sure of it, and hopefully we'll move up a spot after Will's. I think he just caught the puddles on the outside and cleaned Gergo and another guy out. So thanks for that, Will. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a bit of an awkward moment because you've got the team's championship to think of as well. Talking to Gergo there. I mean, look, first half of the season is done. It's over. We've got 4 more rounds left to go, of course, beginning next week. Quickly and finally, wrap up what you've made of the first half of the season for you, the positives, the negatives. Are you happy with how things have been so far?
I'm loving being back in a single-seater car, especially all these British circuits. Yeah, it's I'm happy to be P2. I'm happy to be leading the constructors with Gergo, the teams, but I'm just not aggressive enough at points sometimes. I'm too worried about not finishing, where I'm still hoping that's going to pay out in the long run of the championship for the drivers. But honestly, working with the team, this championship, loving it all. And yeah, it's I will get a bit more spicier if it needs to be at the end of the season, but yeah, just be the patient game and enjoy it, and just honestly loving it. I really am enjoying this British F4 series. So yeah, hopefully there's some more rain on the horizon.
We're loving seeing you racing, Graham. Fantastic stuff. Great podium again.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
There we go. Graham Carroll, of course, involved in the championship fight, and of course leading in the team side, second in the drivers. Cam, let's have a quick round up. What an epic round it was at Oulton Park. But that is 4 rounds done, 8 races done. That is halfway done in the British F4 Esports season this year.
Absolutely, and I think we're starting to work out who our championship contenders are going to be, and it's set the scene very nicely indeed. And what way to finish the first half of the season than a wet race around Oulton Park. As I think as Ronnie was saying, one of the hardest combinations you can have, and it put on a show for us, didn't it? Of course, some drivers struggling out there, but I can't wait to see how they attack this second half of the season that goes to another completely different style of racetrack in next week.
Yes, indeed. We head to the Northamptonshire-Buckinghamshire border as we go racing at the home of British motorsport in just 1 week's time. Of course, it'll be the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Same time, Formula Ford will begin the evening of racing as they'll get their second half of the season underway before British F4 Esports action returns. We will be closing down on that championship finale in West Kingsdown. We've got 4 rounds still left to go. Thank you so much for joining us. Lewis McGlade, Cameron Roger in the comedy booth with Hugo Luis bringing you the broadcast. We'll see you in just 1 week's time as we go to Silverstone.